All right, I think we live everywhere. Yeah, it's KG.codes again, Kelvin. I'm about to do another coding challenge live. So, yeah, this one is a medium. This one it's a little bit difficult. So, I'm gonna try to work through this one tonight on here live in front of everybody. Hopefully, I can get some help, spark some discussion, learn some things. You know how it goes with these problems. So, yeah, hope people can jump in. Help me out, jump in and discuss, learn something, whatever level you're at. Hopefully you'll get something out of this live. The problem I'm doing is called Valid Sudoku, so I think it's kind of an interesting one if you're like into this sort of thing. I mean, I don't think anybody likes to do these coding challenges, of course, but if you gotta do them for your job or whatever the case is, it is better if it's an interesting problem, at least that kind of makes some sense to you, to make it easier to do. So yeah, that's what I'm about to do today. Let me move this thing out the way here. So my chat GPT, move it out the way. And I won't be typing on the chat GPT to do the problem. I just use that after to answer questions, and if I get stuck or whatever, I'll go over there and use it. But yeah, I'm not going to use it during the actual live. But yeah, so yeah, I'm going to do this Valid Sudoku problem, medium on LeetCode.com. I did do it not too long ago, so hopefully my memory holds up, but I'm gonna do this problem basically from memory, or basically from the things I've memorized on how to do these problems for the most part, in some recent memory. So hopefully I can go through it without issue, but we'll see. Even if I have issues, I'll just do what I gotta do to get through the issues. So yeah, let's do it like that. So let me know if you got any questions in the comments. Comment what your thoughts are, if you know how to do the problem, if you have any tips, if you want to just ask questions about things. I'll try to pay attention to the chat and answer some questions. I see Prodigy on TikTok said he loved this problem. Yeah, I appreciate you jumping in and saying that. This is my first time doing this one, or at least looking at it. I looked at it a little earlier. This one is interesting. Lucero Cruz on YouTube, what's up, man? Appreciate you jumping in. I'm about to start this problem shortly. Valid Sudoku, or how y'all say it? Sudoku. See, I don't even play this game normally, but the one thing I like about this problem is like a real game, So you're like actually coding something for a real game. Like you might decide to build this in an app or something one day if you learn to code, or if you already know how to code, you might decide to build a certain version of this. So that's why I think this problem's a little bit more interesting than some of the other problems on LeetCode that are kind of less or more abstract. So I think it's kind of cool. Jaden on TikTok, appreciate you joining. He said you got to track the numbers and maybe keep a hash map of each number you've seen. Yeah, I think you're on the right track with that. That definitely makes sense. Offcast, what's going on, man? Appreciate you jumping in. Yeah, we about to jump into this thing. Hopefully more people start to jump in, but I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Doing this and seeing how it goes. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So this one is called Valid Sudoku. It's a medium problem on LeetCode.com, and it goes as such: determine if a 9x9 Sudoku board is valid. Pretty simple. Only the field cells need to be validated according to the following rules. Number 1, each row must contain the digits 9 through 1 without repetition. Number 2, each column must contain the digits 9 through 1 without repetition, each column. And then number 3, each of the 9x9 sub boxes of the grid must contain the digits 9 through 1 without repetition. And then some notes here. A Sudoku board partially filled could be valid, but is not necessarily solvable. So that just basically means that I don't need to try to solve the Sudoku board. Like, it's only gonna be partially filled. I don't need to make sure it's solvable. I just need to check that if it's currently valid at its current state, which is halfway filled in or partially filled in. Only the field cells need to be validated according to the mentioned rules. So yeah, like only the cells that are filled in with the number need to be validated. And so what they're asking me to do is make sure each row only contains 1 through 9 without repetition. So this is oops, I didn't mean to do that. But these are the rows going across, the 9 numbers going across in each one. The columns need to be 1 through 9 without repetition. So that's up and down, or just, down each column, the 9 columns. And then each of the 9 3x3 sub boxes of the grid must contain the digits 1 through 9 without repetition as well. So that's this one box, this box, this box, this box, this box, all the way to 9 boxes. And the input, when you translate this to code, the input is going to be a multi-dimensional array or 2-dimensional array. So the rows are going to be the array. It's an array of arrays in order to create a multi-dimensional array. And so it being an array of array, each array is the row, and each item in the array at each interval is the actual columns, if that makes sense. So when in this array will be 1 row, this array will be the 2nd row, this array will be the 3rd row, just like you see up here, 5 and 3, 6, 1, 9, 5, 9 and 8. So that's this row. And so then the columns would actually be each place in that row. Like the ones, or the first place in that row would be a column, the second place in that row would be a column. And so this is just how typically in programming, how you would store in your programming language or in your application multi-dimensional arrays. This is usually how you would do it. And this is another example. And basically saying in this example, is this a valid Sudoku board? Like, are there any duplicates in the rows? So they're saying here that no, there are no duplicates in the rows, so you just return true. This one, there must be some duplicates in here, except the 5 on the top left being modified to 8. Since there are 2 8s in the top left 3x3 sub box, it's invalid. So basically this box, this is the box here, these 3, and there's 2 8s in it, so it's not valid in this sub box. And the sub box would be like, in that case, this top corner up here. But this is example 2, so this got a different set. Got this one, and this one, if that makes sense. So yeah, so that's the 3 boxes there. So yeah, I see some people on TikTok. Saying they might know the solution or have some solution for it. I see somebody on YouTube saying stop digging in your butt. Why am I'm not. What you talking about digging in your butt, man? What are we talking about? I don't know what's going on. But what's up, VX Superior? I don't know what you're talking about. I ain't digging in my butt. I got my hand on my leg. I mean, dang, bro. What are we talking about? Anyway, we on some crazy stuff tonight already, but that's cool. Anyway, yeah. So this is what they're asking you to do. Basically, just validate this Sudoku board. One thing I noticed is that these the constraints. So in an interview, you might be given these constraints. You may not. You may, over time, you'll learn to at least ask about these in the interview if you don't get them up front. But sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. But yeah, here LeetCode gives them to you. So we know the board is 9x9. So the board is 9 length, 9 height. So they're just basically saying the board length is 9. The board height is 9. Height is 9. And then at each value on the board is a digit. Got to be 1 through 9 or to be this little dot. And so this dot is just the empty. That just represents the empty spaces. That represents the empty spaces up here. And the numbers in here represent the numbers in here. So this is just a code data, basically a data structure representation of one of these boards in each of these examples. So yeah, these are the constraints. So they're basically what they said above. Like, it's a 9x9 board. It's just, I mean, these constraints are basically almost exactly the same as what the question is asking. So it's not really giving you much in this case, but those are the constraints. And so if you ever seen me do these before, I like to think through the solution first. And then once I think through the solution, like how I would solve it in my head, then I like to try to take that solution and sort of transform it to what I know about data structures and algorithms into something that I can actually try to code. And that's kind of what you want to do in the interview. You want to talk through with the interview and make sure you understand the question, which I kind of just went through. And then second, you want to try to come up with a solution with your words first. Maybe even write some pseudocode down to talk through with the interviewer first before you start writing code. You want to do that because you want to make sure that you're aligned with the interviewer about what your strategy is going to be to solve the problem. One reason you want to do that is to just help yourself, think through the solution, before you just jump in the code and get stuck. The second reason why you want to do that is if some interviewers will help you. Like if you come up with a solution that they know is not going to work, sometimes they'll try to lead you in a different direction. And if you just start coding, it makes it harder for them to help you get out of it. They're not going to help you that much. They're not going to say, hey, stop coding and start coding something else. But if you're talking through a solution and you say something weird to them, they might help you. Give them a chance to help you. So that's what you need to do. So, that's what I suggest you to do. That's best practice. And so, when I'm looking at this, how do I validate that a Sudoku board is valid? Looking at these 3 criteria. Somebody said in the comments, who said, Sebastian Layford in TikTok said, brute force that shit. Loop through each number and double loop to verify no errors. Looping through is one option. Let me see what anybody else said. Jaden, some other people saying use a set. I think that's a good idea. Would depth first search be appropriate for this problem? I don't think depth first search would be appropriate for this problem because it's not it's not a tree problem. It's not a combination problem. It's not a permutation problem. So trying to find different paths down a tree of combinations or routes or something like that is not really happening here. So I don't think you need to actually do any kind of searching here outside of just simply navigating every single thing. So I know in order to know, when you start doing these problems, you'll start to get pattern recognition. That's what I just did. I looked at the problem and I know based on the problem and from history of learning the patterns and data structures and algorithms that I have in my tool belt, what certain problems look like versus what certain solutions look like and which solutions map to certain problems. And I just know depth first search doesn't map to this problem because it's not combinatory. I think that's how you say it. It's not a combination problem, like number of combinations, number of ways. It's not a tree that has different branches. It's just not one of those problems that lends itself to that. It's possible that you could use it on this problem, I'm not saying that, but it's just not a problem that it lends itself to it. But what somebody said in the comments is what I would do if I'm solving this in my head, and somebody mentioned in the comments, is I know that from looking at this, for a Sudoku board to be valid, you have to make sure there's no duplicates. And so whenever you have to make sure there's no duplicates, I know that I need to check every single one of these things in here. Now, there's some coding problems you can do without having to check every single value. But in this case, there could be a duplicate at this last one. There could be a duplicate at anywhere in here. So I know that at the very least, I'm going to have to traverse over this whole thing. And somebody said that brute force through the whole thing. Just loop through the whole thing and figure out what you have. So if I know I got to loop through this whole thing, I know there's no way to do this problem without checking every single value to make sure there's not a duplicate. Because I got to check every row. I got to check every column already. I already know that. So that already says, these two already say I got to go through the whole thing. Because it's every row and every column. I got to check every single row because on the last one, there could be a duplicate. From the first to the last, there could be a duplicate. I got to check every single one. And then on top of it, I also got to check the 3x3 boxes anyway too. And so... but anyway, I know I got to check everything. So I know I'm going to have to traverse through this. And since this is a multi-dimensional array, I just think I'm going to have to loop through this. And matter of fact, I'm not even going to jump to code right now. I'm just going to do this in my head. I know I'm just going to check all of these in order, actually. I'm just going to check row by row, column by column, and just make sure I don't have any duplicates. So I know I can't highlight this. So yeah, but I know if I look at this top row, there's no duplicates. 5, 7, and 5, 3, 7. So good there. No duplicates in this row. No duplicates in this row. No duplicates in this row. 4, 8, 3, 1, no duplicates. 7, 2, 6, no duplicates. I can see that there's no duplicates in any of these rows. And then if I go up and if I go top to bottom, there's no duplicates. No duplicates. I would check here just to see there's no duplicates. I already know there's no duplicates because this one returns true. So I would check, but that's how I would do it in my head. I would just check each row, and then I would go by each box and check each box to make sure there's no duplicates. And so that's how I would do it in my head. Now, trying to translate this to code, I have a multi-dimensional array, and I can't just eyeball it. I need to have code that checks each one of these boxes and logically does this. And so I know to loop through this, I'd have to loop through this multi-dimensional array and check every single value in here. And at each value, I need to check a couple things. So let's say I start here and I just go through one by one from left to right. So when I start at 5, there's 3 things I need to basically check. I need to check at 5 that there are no duplicates in this column of 5, and I need to make sure there's no duplicates in this row of 5. And then I need to make sure there's no duplicates in this box, this sub box of 5. So I need to do 3 operations on this 5. And basically everything I look at as I traverse through this whole thing, I need to do that same 3-way check on every single thing. So when I get to 3, I need to check that there's no duplicates in this row. So let's say these both were 3s. When I got to this 3 here and I found the duplicate here, I would already know I have a duplicate and I know my Sudoku puzzle is invalid. And so how can I make sure I have no duplicates? I need to use some data structure to save what I've already seen. And so what I'm thinking is that whenever I hit 5, I'll save 5 as like 3 ways. I would check 3 things. I would check the row to make sure I don't have a duplicate of 5. And then I'll save this row as saying I've seen a 5 in this row. And then I would check the column and make sure I have no duplicate of 5. If I don't, I will save the 5 and say I've seen a 5 in this column. And also in this box, I would save the 5 and say I've seen a 5 in this box. So I would save the thing in 3 different data structures for the column, for the row, column, row, and then the sub box. And so I would go through each thing in this list that actually has a number in it, and I would check those 3 criteria. It's basically the 3 criteria up here. I would check them, but if I find a duplicate, then I know my Sudoku puzzle isn't valid, and I would just return false. If I don't find a duplicate, I store what I've seen so that the next thing I check, I can check that there's no duplicates in my list. And so the best way to do that, to check for unique values in a list of columns or rows or the boxes, is to use a set, because a set data structure only contains unique values. You can't add duplicate values to it. And so with the set, what I can do is I can easily check with very quick time complexity whether I've already seen something in the set. So what I want to do is create a set for each row. I want to create a set for each column, and I want to create a set for each Sudoku sub box, the 9 boxes. And somebody said that in the comments, and let me make sure I'm reading the comments too. Yeah, solving Sudoku, solving approach on YouTube. I guess I don't know what you're saying. TikTok, probably the most comments. This big O even matter here? We'll talk about Big O at the end, but yeah, definitely. I think you're on the right track, Sebastian. I think you know what you're talking about. Yeah, because I think here, since we're just looking at every single number, we can talk about it now. Here, since we're looking at every single number, and we're not like doing anything crazy, and the box is fixed to 9 by 9. At most, we're just gonna check 9 times 9 numbers. And we're going to check 89 numbers. And that's actually very quick in Big O notation. That's basically constant time complexity. But we'll talk about the space complexity later. It's a little bit more complex. But yeah, at least as far as I'm thinking. I don't know. I'll see when I get there. Once I see the code, I'll be able to do the time complexity on it. But Sebastian, I think you're on it about that. So anyway, that's what I'm thinking. I'm going to create a set. A lot of people already said in the comments, especially on TikTok. Yeah. So we'll just do it like that. I'm gonna create a set for each thing I need to check in these 3 things. So that means 9 sets for the rows, 9 sets for the columns, 9 sets for the sub boxes. So a lot of sets that I'm gonna have to basically make sure I don't have any duplicates using these sets. And if you don't want to know what a set is, I will go just look that up real quick. It basically is a data structure that it's a data structure that sort of looks like an array, but it does not allow duplicates, and it allows you to easily check with constant time whether you have a duplicate in your set or not. And then you can add to the set and remove from the set in constant time as well. So anyway, just jump over to the code, man. I think we're ready to do some coding. So let's jump on over to this side of LeetCode.com. That's what I'm using, is LeetCode.com to do this coding challenge. It's a site where they show the problems, and then you can code it there, and then you can actually run the code on LeetCode. I'm going to use JavaScript. I know a lot of people love Python. Every time I get on here, everybody's like, why don't you use Python? JavaScript is JavaScript is dynamically typed, just like Python is. It's a great language to do coding interviews in. I've been doing front-end development for probably the past 5 or 6 years. So when I do interviews, I use JavaScript because I'm a front-end developer. Well, I'm a full-stack developer, but I've been doing a lot of front-end work. I've been writing mostly JavaScript in my day job. So I'm going to use JavaScript because that's what I interview in. But the Python will be very similar. So you can still follow along, and it'll make sense to you. Like, you're not going to let it be. Last time I got on here, we had a lot of arguments about the Python thing, the Python versus JavaScript thing. Don't be so, especially now with the AI times, like, don't be so language allegiant. Be more agnostic about your programming languages. When you learn one, you should be able to learn more than one. You should be able to read code in more than one. So let's just, this time, please, let's not just get so hung up on Python versus JavaScript. JavaScript is the most second popular language behind Python. I think Python just crossed it. JavaScript was the most popular language for the last 10 years, and Python just crossed it for #1. So Python is great, amazing. I'm gonna use JavaScript. If you know Python, you're gonna be able to read it because you guys are very smart. If you learn Python, you're smart enough to be able to read JavaScript, and it's not gonna hurt you. You know, you're gonna be fine. It's gonna look just as good, or it's gonna look good enough for you to be able to understand what I'm doing. So let's just go with that. Yeah, let's go ahead and start. So this is the scaffolding that LeetCode gives off to you. I'm also going to put the problem statement at the top up here so y'all can see that. For people that join later. But this is the stub. I know this is kind of in the way a little bit, but yeah, this is the stub that LeetCode gives you to do the problem. It's called, they give me a function called isValid Sudoku, passing in the board, which is they say appears a multi-dimensional character array. So it has a single character in it. Multi-dimensional array, which means it's an array of arrays. Since it's a 2-dimensional array, it's an array of arrays. And so first thing I'm gonna do is change this to const. If you know JavaScript, then you know that it's better to, in certain cases, to define your variables as constants. I mean, your functions as constants, and sometimes your variables as constants, depending on what they're doing, and to avoid them from being hoisted to the global scope. Doesn't really matter here. I'm on LeetCode. It's not really mattering, but I'm gonna still change this for best practice because somebody gonna mention it in a minute. I already know because y'all own y'all stuff, so I know somebody about to come in here and mention it. Somebody already said this isn't Python. It's not Python. It's JavaScript, man. Y'all gonna be all right though. You're still gonna be able to understand it in JavaScript. I promise. It's LeetCode.com. About to start this isValid Sudoku problem. So, like I said, when I read through the problem description, how I read through it in my mind, how I want to do this is I wanted to basically I know I want to traverse the multi-dimensional array and check every single character in it. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with that logic to do that. So I'm gonna say I might check my rows, and this is something you'll probably get used to as you code a lot, like how to traverse a multi-dimensional array or a two-dimensional array. But basically what you do is you need to loop the rows, because the rows are first in a multi-dimensional, or at least that's how this array is structured. The rows are first, so I'm just naming my variable row, my iteration variable row, and the board. Matter of fact, it's literally gives you this in the constraints. It tells you that the board length equals 9, which is the rows, and then board I, which is whichever row you're at, the length of the columns or whatever is 9. So it's 9 by 9. So I know that my board length is the end of my rows, and then I'm actually just gonna copy this loop. You basically do a nested loop in order to traverse it. So I'm gonna change this to columns, and this would actually be board at the current row that I'm on, the length of that. And I actually really don't even have to do this because I know that my board length is guaranteed to be 9 by 9 based off the constraints over here. So I already know. But this is what I would do, because you might, I don't know. I'm just gonna put 9 actually. But at least y'all know how you would do this if you didn't know if your size of your matrix, because this is not the only type of problem that you would do like this. The size of your matrix and other problems might be different. Like this is not the only like grid matrix graph type problem. So, but I know that it's gonna be 9 by 9, and I'm gonna say less than 9 because the iterator starts at 0. So as long as row is less than 9, as long as column is less than 9, we're good to go. So yeah, that's going. And what this does is gives me a row and a column, and on each one I know that I'm going to have basically like a value that I'm going to get out of that, which is going to be the board. And I'm going to use the accessors that I have for the multi-dimensional array. First the row, first the column. What that will do will get you the value out of the row and column that you're on. So that'll give you an 8 for 0, 0. For 0, 1, that'll give you a 3. For 1, 0, that'll give you a 6. So that's when your rows, and that's based on the value of your row and column, if that makes sense. And so that'll give me the value that I currently have. And so this is just basically how I'm traversing this row. And so, or traversing this whole grid. And basically I need to do something with this value. And what I need to do with this value is basically what the 3 things they said over here. I need to check, is there a duplicate in the rows? Is there a duplicate? Have I seen this, the value that I'm currently on, have I seen this in the current row that I'm on? Have I seen this in the current column that I'm on? And have I seen this in the current 3x3 box that I'm inside of? And so I need to be able to check those 3 things in. So in order to say that I've seen something, I need to create a data structure that allows me to basically a data structure that allows me to know whether I've seen something or not. And so how I can do that is I can set up a const, and I'm gonna call it scene row, or what can I call it? Scene values in row, something like that. I'm naming stuff long just so it makes sense. And that can be this can be a hash map, but in JavaScript you can actually set up objects and use them as hash maps to a certain degree. And so this is a map, and basically in my map I'm going to have row 0. I'm going to have a key for row 0, and I'm going to put a new set in it. And I'm basically going to have a key for every single every single index all the way up to 9. So this is kind of like some grunt work, and there probably is an easier way to do this, but for the sake of, like, I guess, brevity and explaining it, I'm gonna do it like this. So this will be 0, 1. So remember, I said I need a set for every single row. So I'm gonna have a set for 0 through 8 because we're 0 base indexing here. And so I'll make sure I don't make a mistake here, because that'll come and bite me at the end. 7, 8, and that's it. So basically what this is a map with keys 0 through 9. Each of them have a set in it, and what I'm gonna do is in each of these is gonna be represent a row of what I've seen, and so it'll make more sense later. I also need to do the same thing for the columns. So seen values and this is like C values and rows, seen values and cols. I'm just gonna call that columns, basically what that stands for. And I got the same thing going on there. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just make sure I didn't screw up. And I'm gonna stop right there for right now, and I'm gonna do the check for what I need to see here. So I got this value, and what I want to check is first thing I need to check before I forget, I need to make sure the value even equals something. Like, is it a dot or is it a number? Because if it's a dot, I don't even need this. I just need to skip it. Like, I don't even need to do nothing with it. So let's first check if value equals the dot, then just continue like this loop. Just skip that. Just continue the loop. And I'm gonna put the brackets just around it just for readability, because I'm trying to keep this short so people can still see it. But yeah. So if it equals this, then I'm just asking it to continue the loop. Just skip. Don't do anything else here. And then I also want to check. Now I want to check my row. So I want to check if seen. I want to check that. How I want to do this. So if I've seen values in rows, if you can use, since these are sets, I'm sorry, I'm screwing up here. So I need to check for the key of the current row I'm on, because I use these keys here represent the row that I'm on, 0 through 8. And so the row is going to iterate 0 through 8 here, because it's going to stop less than 9. So I actually can put the row in here to access the key the set of the key that I'm currently at as far as rows. And so at that row, the set is there. I can actually use the has function on the set and say, does it have the value that I'm currently at? If it has the current value that I'm at, I actually want to return false, because that means if it has that value, that means I found a duplicate. That's not good. That means that I can just break out of this whole algorithm and just say return false. If I have a duplicate in any form of one of these rows that's not supposed to have a duplicate in it, the problem is telling me I need to return false. So that's what I'm going to do. I also need to check if I have a duplicate in the columns too. So I'm gonna put that here and say in COL columns, and I'm gonna change the indexer that I'm using to the column that I'm on. Does it have the value? So if either I have the duplicate in the row or I have a duplicate in the columns, then I'm gonna return false. If I don't return false here, meaning my program continues, then I actually need to, because remember, I need to say that I've seen this before. So I actually can use add on the set to add this value. If I haven't seen it, I need to add it saying I've seen it before. So when I loop through again, the next time I check for duplicates, I'll be able to check for whatever I've already seen. So this is where I'm actually adding in the things that I've seen. So COL, so I'm just copying this over. So I'm adding the things that I've seen up into my data structures up here, which are basically a map or two maps that have sets in them, key sets. I know I said that kind of weird, but it's kind of hard to. So you gotta be clear with what you're explaining when you're in the interview for sure. You gotta make sure people understand what you're saying. So anyway, yeah. So that's where I'm at. Somebody says, is there an easier way to create all those sets in JavaScript? There probably is. There's probably a way that you can like, I don't know, some fancy, or I wouldn't even say fancy, but it's probably an easier way to implement this without this much verbosity. But I'm gonna leave it like this. This is the way I understand at least how to do it. I'm not gonna try to do some kind of fancy like array, probably like an array apply or something. I don't know, some sort of array function that probably can build the object for you. But I'm not gonna do that. So I'm gonna do it like this. Create the set. So yeah, now I'm populating set. So the one thing I missed, or on purpose, is this third condition. I need to be able to check. I'm already checking. I'm populating the sets for the rows. I'm populating the sets for the columns, and I'm also checking for each thing that I land on. I'm checking if I have a duplicate. I'm skipping the empty spaces, but I need to also check these. Like whenever I get in one of these, I need to check that I don't have a duplicate in this whole. Have I seen a duplicate in this whole area before? So, or I need to store it. Like that I've seen it in this for later in case I see a duplicate in the future. So that's a little bit more complicated because it's not just a simple column. It's like a square inside of the columns in array. Like this one would be column 1 and row 1 and column 1. This down here would be row 3 and column 3. And so I need to just make sure that I'm actually storing this in a way that I can populate a set similar to how I do the columns. And so how I think about it is just like the columns, I got 9 different columns I need to store data for. I got 9 different rows I need to store data for. I also got 9 what do they call them up here? Sub boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm actually gonna, in my mind, I'm gonna key these. I'm gonna give these a key. It's called this one 0, because remember here, like I'm doing these, I have a key 0 through 8. So I'm gonna go ahead and just assign keys in my head to these 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm gonna do it from left to right, top to bottom. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm gonna use that to also build a third, and I know this is ugly, y'all. I know it's probably a better way I can do this, but I'm gonna also build a third scene values in, what do they call it? They call it something. Sub boxes. Sub boxes. So I might also build a key thing here, and these basically will store my data based on these 3x3 boxes. And so the complication comes in down here. I need to also check that the 3x3 box, like I need to do another OR here and check that I haven't seen. So in sub boxes, I don't know what to put in here yet, but XXXX. I need to make sure that the sub boxes up here also hasn't seen it, because if it's seen it before, if there's a duplicate in one of these sub boxes, then I also need to have that as this case here to return false. But how do I get this? Because this is not based on a simple row or column like these other two are. This is based on something totally different. And so I basically need to create a way to get, based on the row and column, I need to create a way to get the IDs that I assigned, the keys that I assigned to these 9 boxes. Because remember I said this one's 0, this one's 1, this one's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've created my own key. Now there's probably a different way to do this problem maybe, but this is how I'm thinking about doing it. I'm giving these my own keys, and I'm going to basically create the data. This is how coding works in like day-to-day job, how you would kind of do stuff like this. Somewhat, you wouldn't do a problem that's simple, but sometimes there's logic that you have to write sort of like this. And so I need a way to convert the row and column I have to the key that I want so that I can pass it into here. And how I'm going to do that is actually going to create another function. I could do it just up here, but I'm going to create another function because that, to me, that looks cleaner. And I'm going to call it get sub box. And how did they? Yeah, they had a hyphen. So I'm actually going to rename this. I don't like this double. Yeah, I'm going to rename it like that. Sub boxes. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to say get. This is scene value and sub box scene value. So I'm going to say get sub box key based on the row and column. And why is this doing like that? It's kind of weird. Oh, and then this is, I screwed this up. Hold on. This function, yeah, like that. So I'm creating a function that's going to give me the sub box key based on a row and column. And so I know from this that these ones, so 0 through 2 is column 1 for the columns. 0 through 2 is the box 1 for the first box. I know the first box is 0 through 2 for the columns, 0 through 2 for the rows. So this is going to be really crude. There's probably a easier way to do this, but what I'm literally going to say is if row is less than or equal to 2, because that's what I'm looking at for the first box. I'm just going to figure out the first box, how to assign the key. If I'm somewhere in this range, I'm going to assign the key 0. And so I'm going to say if row is less than 2, then I'm going to be inside some condition here. Now I need to check the columns. So I can say if the column is less than or equal to 2, also, then I know I need to return 0. So I know that I know if row is less than 2, equal to, column is less than equal to 2, I return 0 for my key. I need to do this for 9 keys for each key, because I'm basically making a mapping between the keys and the columns. And so how I can do this a little bit better is I could actually just return. I could do this in a sort of like a ternary style. And I think what I can do is, I think inside of here I think I can do it like that. Return. Yeah, I think I can do it like that. And it's gonna look a little weird, but I'm gonna try to just make this look a little bit better. So I can know if I'm inside of 2, and if the column is also less than or equal to 2, then I know I'm gonna return 0. Else, if the column is less than or equal to, what's the next set? So the next set in columns is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if it's less than or equal to 5, then I'm going to return. So if I'm over here, then I'm going to return, I said 0, 1. So then I'm going to return 1 as my key. Else, if the column is actually greater than 5, then that means I'm in this last box over here. So row is less than or equal to, row is somewhere in here. Column is way over here. So now I'm in my box number 2 as far as my key, how I said I was going to do it. So that'll give me 2 right there. And so that's how I would do that. And so then here, I need to go to my next row. Else if row, I need to do the same thing for rows. If rows is less than or equal to 5, then I'm going to return, I'm going to do a similar thing with the columns here. I'm going to return if column is less, but then there I'm on the next row right here. So I'm going to return 0, 1, 2. I'm going to return 3, 4, and 5 here. So I'm actually going to instead say this is 3, and then this one is 4, and this one is 5. And then if I get down here, then I can actually just return, because like I'm at the bottom. Like if I get down, if I don't return inside of here, then I know I'm going to get down to here and have to return this at the worst case. So I'm going to delete that. And then I know this is the, after this, I only got one thing left. Row has to be greater than 9. So I'm just going to go ahead and return. I'm just going to put in the column here. In this case, I did 5 the last one, so it would be 6, 7, and 8. And I know this seems really complicated, but this is basically mapping out, this is giving me the answer to, based on the row and column, am I in this sub box, am I in this sub box, am I in this one? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like, which box am I in? And this is just returning the key, which box I'm in. And so there's multiple ways to do this logic. This is the way I like doing it because I understand it. There are multiple, I see probably in the comments, there's probably like 1,000 other ways to do it. But this is the way I like to do it. Because I understand it the best this way. So what I can do up here is I can actually make another constant up here, like, yeah, if I get past this line, then I actually can make another constant right here and say, call it sub box key, get sub box key, and then just pass in the row and columns, and that give me the sub box key, and I can use that for the sub box, like which sub box I'm looking for to see if it has the value. And I need to store the value if I've seen it. So I also need to do add down here to add it to the sub boxes that I've seen. Add it to the values I've seen for that sub box key. And so I'm actually going to just put this, looks cleaner, just put this up here. And yeah, I'll just make some space between here so it's easy to see. So I know this looks like a lot. It looks a little crazy because it's like dropping down lines, but yeah, this is the algorithm. So when you get to, I've got this slid over weird, hold on. So when you get to this point in an interview, what can happen is like two things. Like either they'll have a way for you to run this code, or they'll have a way for you, or they won't have a way for you to run it. Like you might just be doing this in a notepad, and they'll expect for you to explain your code, trace your code manually, and make sure it works as you expect. That's a lot of work for me to do right now. I don't know if, shoot, I did this last time and it took forever on another problem. I don't know if I want to do that because it's going to take so long. So I might just run this. I might just verify the code looks like I want it to look, and I might just run it first. And then if I have time, I'll go through and do it manually. But I want to just express, in an interview, they don't always let you run the code. Like some interviews, like the Amazon interview I went on, they didn't let me run the code. They just had a notepad. I wrote my code in a notepad. I didn't have any help, no IntelliSense, nothing. And then he gave me a data input, like in this case it'd be board, and he made me trace through the code manually, keep track of the variables manually, and make sure and prove to him my algorithm worked without even running it. Because they want to know how you think. They want to know that your logic is sound. Like, you actually could probably get away with the problem with the algorithm being broken or having a bug, because they really don't care about that. They just care that your logic is sound and that you're able to explain yourself, you know, and at least logically you have a solution that makes sense to them. Now, other ones, like when I give interviews, you actually have to run it against data sets and make sure, and it needs to run, like the code is actually being run. What I'm gonna do actually is I'm just gonna trace through line. I'm just gonna make sure that everything is looking good in my algorithm like I want it to do. Yeah, so I changed this to const is valid Sudoku board. Like, all this was given by lead code. So I created 3 maps with sets in them of keys 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I created a new set in each one at each key. I created 3 different maps for my purposes of checking, you know, duplicates in rows, duplicates in columns, and duplicates in sub boxes, which that's what they're asking me to do in the problem. And these 3 things here, So I did that. So those look good. Here, I do a nested loop. First going through the rows, I stop below 9. First going through the columns, I stop below 9. See, I already found the issue right here. This should be column. That's why you always go through your code, just making sure it looks like you expect. So I go through here and check for the columns. That gives me the ability to index into my board, a 2-dimensional array, and get a value out. I also have a subbox key variable that gives me the key that corresponds to a set up here to let me know when I have duplicates in a subbox. So it gives me a subbox key. So in subbox key, if row is less than or equal to 2, meaning I'm in one of these 3 top rows, in that case, then return if column is also less than or equal to 2, meaning I'm in one of these 3 columns, give me 0. And I wanted the number 0. Anytime I'm in any of these 9 right here, I want the number 0 to come back as my key. And then if I'm in the columns less than or equal to 5, then I want you to give me 1, because that means I'm over here. I'm like in this section here. I'm always going to be on 1 through 3 on the row, but now I'm in basically 3, 4, or 5. And so I want you to return 1 here, and I want you to return 2 here. And then as I go on, I want 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so based on this logic, I'll get the 1 and 2 here. If the row goes down to 3 through 5, then I want to return 3 for my column, 4, and then 5. And then if I get down here, I want to return 6, 7, and 8. So that looks good to me as my keys. Like I said, you can use a different way. You could use you could set up a map to, you could use I think bit, like a bit, what do they call it? A bit operation or something like that. You could use that to do it. There's multiple ways to do this part of it, but this to me feels like the most logical way, intuitive way, from not like if you were coming into the interview fresh or you forgot everything, you did this problem before but you forgot it. To me, just doing it like this, finding a way to key the thing yourself, worst case in an interview is what you would have to do, because you might not remember those like perfect special ways, like bitwise operations and just weird logic, and those are the things that are hard to remember under pressure. But when you keep it simple and just like if statements and stuff like that, at the worst case, you can at least get through the problem. And this is when I first did this problem, I think this is the way I did it. I don't know. This is just the way I'm thinking to do it. So this is the most intuitive way I'm thinking to do it. And also with these sets, like it's probably a way to instantiate these a little more cleaner. But you know, I'm just doing them in a way that sometimes when you explain to an interviewer too, like making sure the code is a way where you can kind of see it and visualize it, sometimes can take priority as well. So anyway, I got the subbox key. I made a weird little thing there, but yeah, if value equals to this, then I know I need to just continue to skip. And then if I'm basically checking 3 cases. If seen values in rows that at that particular row has the set in that index, in that key, has the value, or if seen in columns at that column has the value, or if seen in sub boxes at that sub box key has the value. If any one of these things is true, I have a duplicate in any of those cases, return false. If not, I'm storing what I've seen in each of these places. Similar to what I checked, I'm just storing it in here for the next time I loop through in case I have some duplicate somewhere. So that looks good to me. Code looks good. If I was in an interview where they didn't let me run the code, I would actually start taking track of these variables. Like I would put a board up there, like what the board value is. I would write these down like up here, and like what the values are inside of it at any given time, and I would go line by line with my input and trace it and update the values up here and trace it manually because the interviewer wouldn't let me run the code. That's what I would do. If you watch my lives before, I've done that before. Once you start, I do a lot for easy problems because it doesn't take as much time, but once you start to get to these medium problems, it starts to take a really long time to do it. I'm not going to bore y'all with that. I'm just going to run it. Maybe I'll think about doing it if I feel like it after I get done with this. But I think I'm just going to, I think I'm just going to run through it because I literally have to go through 9 times 9. I have to go through 89 cases. Usually, if y'all been on here and seen me do these lives before, usually the input is like 4 or 5 things that I have to go through. I have to go through 89 things here. Like 9 rows and columns. Then I'd have to also check the keys for the sub boxes, and it's just too much, man. I think even in the interview they probably wouldn't even ask this if they were gonna manually have you go through it because it's just too much, man. It take too long. But usually the problems I get where they don't let me run it, the problem is hard, but the input is way quicker to check, if that makes sense. So anyway, LeetCode lets you run this, and in a lot of interviews, most interviews I was in, you actually can run the code. I'd say probably about 30% of the ones I've been in with the big tech companies. I think Airbnb had one of the interviews where I couldn't run the code. Amazon for sure had an interview or two where I couldn't run the code. But a lot of the interviewers let me run the code. So anyway, LeetCode has a way for you to run the code. I'm going to press the run button up here. See what I get. Okay, so I got the wrong. I think I messed up on something. So I got undefined here, and I think I know what I messed up on. And somebody, let me see. Does anybody know what I messed up on? Yeah, Samuel said usually nowadays they have test cases before they run. Yeah, usually so. I'm not gonna make y'all go into that. Yeah, Samuel Rodriguez, you got it. He said return true. So I'm returning false here as my bad case whenever I find a duplicate. What I forgot to do is under here. If I get to this point down here, I need to return true because that means I didn't find any duplicates. I didn't get into this duplicate case at any point when I looped through all 89 rows and columns, or not 89 rows and columns, 89 values within the grid. If I get here, I'm good. That means valid Sudoku or whatever. And this means invalid Sudoku. Found duplicate. And so, yep, I forgot this case. So I'm going to try to run it again. So that's why, a lot of times people kind of encourage you to run through the code in your head before you run it. But, in a real interview setting, they usually let you run it and debug it, and try to fix your issues. They like to see that process too. Like the process I just went through with fixing my own issue. So I forgot that, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not the perfect at these, but I consider myself okay. And, I forgot the most simplest part is returning the answer. So these things ain't just, a cakewalk all the time. Even the best of us can forget. And I'm not saying I'm the best of us or nothing like that, but I'm just saying even people way better than me at these can forget something. because I'm definitely not an expert at these. I mean, I'm good. I'm decent at them. I'm just not, I'm not the best for sure. So anyway, I got accepted on both the test cases. And so what LeetCode is doing here takes test case 1, test case 2. What these are basically just example 1 and example 2 from over here. And so I got true for both of these, which is great. So that means my algorithm at least works on those 2 test cases from over here. I've created a successful algorithm for these 2 test cases. And so when you get to this point in the interview, typically they're going to ask you about time and space complexity. And what time and space complexity is a way for us to describe how our algorithm performs at scale. It's a way for us to describe to the interviewer or to ourselves, if we're in a real coding job, if the size of the input, as the size of the input increases, how does our algorithm perform in relative to time, like the number of operations, like that affects your CPU usage in your application, or space complexity, which is like how does it use space in relation to the size of your input, and that will use up like runtime memory in your application on your server on your computer. And so time and space complexity is defined or described using something called Big O notation. Big O notation is just a way to sort of describe these in set them in particular, give them, like, set them in boxes, like contain them in certain, I don't even know what to call it, like give them, define them as a certain time and space complexity, give them a particular definition in Big O notation. So Big O notation has like particular definitions of that represent different time and space complexity. So the most simple is constant time and constant space, which is called Big O of 1. That basically means that no matter what the size of the input is, I'm only using a constant amount of space and time, operations and space, which is like memory, to run this algorithm. So if it's 1,000,000, it's just constant number of operations. It doesn't matter. And so in this case, somebody said that earlier. I don't know who said that, but in this case, this problem is actually really simple on the time complexity because my board is always guaranteed to be 9 by 9. And so I'm always just going to check 9 by 9 things. 9 times 9 is 89. So I'm always just checking these 89 things. Like, it never changes. And so in that case, time and space complexity don't apply in the same way that they do if my input was variable. So in like normal programming, you might have an input that has 10 things in it. You might have an input that has 1,000 things in it. You might have an input that have 1,000,000 things. And your algorithm needs to perform decent upon when that data scales. That's what Big O and complexity is helping you measure. If you have a bad algorithm that scales disproportionately to the size of your input. In this case, the size of my input is always 89. I always have 89 things in this grid. And so it's actually the time complexity in this case, because the time complexity is based on the size of your input. How many operations are you running? In this case, you want to look at the operations that are relative to the size of your input. No matter what the size of my input is, I'm only going to run these things 3 times. I'm going to run this once, run this once, run this once. Basically, this loop is what's relative to the size of my input. And because I have to go through everything in this board, and the board is my input. And so I know that this is just 9 times 9 because I know the board is 9 times 9 is guaranteed to be 9 times 9. Y'all might remember earlier when I actually put the board in here. Really, the only reason you put the board in here is if the board is if the board has a non-fixed size, if it has a dynamic size. In this case, it doesn't, so it's just 9 by 9. So I know that I'm gonna do 9 times 9 operation, and in big O notation, whatever operation that is growing or shrinking to the size of your input, that is relative to the size of your input, is what's taking the most weight in your big O notation. Now in this case, it's just simply big O of 89, because I'm just doing 89 operations, constant operations. So this is actually constant time complexity. And in big O notation, it actually reduces down to big O of 1. And so my time complexity is big O of 1, constant time complexity. And so the other thing we have to look at is what the space complexity is. And space complexity is measured off of, in addition to your board, your input, what other data structures are you creating? How much runtime memory is your algorithm using in relation to the size of your input? In relation to the size of my input, I'm basically creating these 3 different maps with sets in them. And the maps there's 9 keys in each of the maps, and then in each one of these, at worst case, I can have 9 things in each of these actual sets. But because that is still just a constant number, it's always 9, it's still considered constant. So actually here, my space complexity is still constant space complexity, which is represented in big O notation as big O of 1. And so it actually would start off as like, I think it's like 9 times 9 times 9, which is like 2. I think it's, what's 9 times 9 times 9? I don't know. It's some high number. Or it's some big number that's a multiplicative of all this data that's being stored. But it's still constant because this board does not have a dynamic size. And so my time and space complexity are actually constant here. So if you see me do other problems, I get into more complex space and time complexity. But in this case, because the input is fixed, you're always going to get constant space and time complexity. So, yeah, somebody said 729 on YouTube. Appreciate it. The only valid type of... Somebody said, I don't even want to read that, man. Somebody said some crazy junk. Anyway, yeah, so... I hope that makes sense. Appreciate it. People are saying good teacher. I appreciate that. That's what I'm on here for. I'm hoping that this is at least helpful to people. It's helpful to me. Kind of gives me the sense of an interview in a different way. Like all these people watching and blah, 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 blah. So it's just good to, do this stuff in front of people and get, get feedback. So anyway, yeah. So that's my space and time complexity. So I know the problem works on these 2 cases here. LeetCode also allows you to run your with the submit button, run the algorithm across a lot of different test cases. Instead of just 2, it'll run it against like 100, sometimes 1,000. Just depends on the problem. So I'm going to submit this, and it also measures against other people that's done this problem. I think because I wrote all this like boilerplate code, and then I had to do this thing down here, I don't know if I'll get a good score against everybody else. I'm sure people find a way to do this better because they went and probably looked up the answer. But I just did what was in my head, so it's probably ways to optimize this for sure, but we'll see. I mean, if I get it right, hopefully. Okay, thank goodness. So it ran it against 507 test cases. They all passed. It beat 35% of runtime of other submissions, 80% memory. So this is where the memory, this is what I was talking about with time complexity, runtime complexity, and space complexity, which is memory. And you got to take these beats 80% and beat 35% with a grain of salt. Like it's not if I ran this again, it'll probably give me a different result. Like you got to take it with a grain of salt. But let's analyze the complexity using LeetCode. Yeah, so it just said it's big O of 1, like I said, the time complexity. And they're going to probably say the memory complexity is the same thing. Space complexity is the same thing. So I was right in that aspect. And yeah, so looks pretty good. Got the problem right. Yeah, this was the first time I actually submitted it, so lucky that I got it right, because this could have went terribly wrong. But yeah, so yeah, went pretty good. Didn't get a bad, not too bad, like actual like comparison to other. I mean, this ain't bad. 80% is really good. 35% ain't bad. It's like closer to the middle. So I'm not even gonna try to optimize this. I think it's fine. I think if you guys got ways to optimize it, let me know in the comments. But yeah, like what I was doing for people that's just joining, I did this problem at the top of the screen called Valid Sudoku. This is the solution I came up with. Basically created maps of sets, keyed maps with sets in them. I stored the data I've seen in these sets, and I checked to just make sure that I haven't seen those things before. If there was any duplicate, just like the problem asked, I return false. If I got to the bottom here and there's no duplicate, I return true. I created this system in order to assign keys to the sub boxes, which the sub boxes are these things, these sub boxes, 9 sub boxes. So I created sort of my own system to be able to track that. That worked out well. Pulled in the sub box key and used it here. So yeah, everything is, I mean, sound. I think I would probably do okay on the interview with this solution. And so what I'll do now is actually take a little bit of time to answer some questions. Hopefully, this made sense to you. Hopefully it was entertaining. I hope you learned something, or if you already kind of know this kind of stuff, hopefully it was kind of a good refresher for you. But for now, yeah, I just answer some questions and stuff. Yeah. Let me see what questions I got. A follow-up to the question would be to validate any n times n, then another follow-up is m times n. Yeah. So Samuel Rodriguez, like that's kind of my point I was making earlier about why this space and time complexity is just 1, because this board is fixed to 9x9. But I guess a more follow-up question that an interview could ask if you had time is like, what if the board could change size? Like, what if it could be like a 4x4 board, or not 4x4, but what would that board be? You could have a 12x12 with 4x4 sections in it, and then you could have a 15x15 with 5x5 sections in it. So yeah, and the board size can be like Samuel said, the board size could be dynamic. It could be called n. So a board of size n, and they could just give you a board, and you just have to dynamically be able to process that board no matter what size it is. And so in that case, I actually would not just put 9 here. I would put like, and my algorithm will still work if I do this right now. I put board.length here, and oh no, it wouldn't work because my set doesn't contain the keys for more than that. I mean, it'll work if I put this in here, but it just won't work if I change the board size. So I would say board row. This should still work. Yeah, so it still works, but if my board size was dynamic, I would actually need to do something different to initialize these sets. So I probably would, in that case, I actually probably would need to come up with a different way to initialize these sets, and come up with a different way to key the sub boxes. I'd have to get a little bit more creative here, a little bit more dynamic here, because I wouldn't be able to just put these numbers in like if it was dynamic, if it was a dynamic board size. So it'd be a much harder problem, which that's why they would call. So like that's why it would be a good follow up to this, because then I would have to adapt the solution to address that. And so I'd probably have to use like array.fill or something like that, and maybe create an array instead of instead of an object. I'd probably just create an array, since this is 0. I think somebody said that in the comments, and I think y'all right. Like this could have just been an array. So like I could have just made an array I could have did an array fill with, yeah, let me try that. So I could have did an array. I think that's how you do it. I just can't remember the syntax for that. So I think you put new. I know the set goes in there. And then, but how do you pick how many you want to do? I think it's something like that, right? And so in that case, I would put 9 in there, 9 in there. Let me see if that actually, it's going to blow up, but I just want to make sure that the, yeah, see, that's what I can't remember. How did the syntax to array fill? Is it new? I can't remember. Somebody let me know what the, and for all y'all using Python, man, I ain't using Python, so I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that I'm not using Python. I'm gonna look this up if I keep screwing this up. Yeah. My bad, y'all. I gotta look up array.fill. I ain't memorized this. We're using AI now. We ain't memorizing syntax unless we're interviewing. Like we're not doing a bunch of memorizing syntax these days. And if I was going on an interview run, I'd be memorizing my syntax, but that day ain't today. So this is the syntax for it. So I want to fill it. I want to do an array of 9 and fill it with the set. So that's how you do it. And I just completely forgot how to do that. I think, yeah, that's how you do it. All right, so what I'm doing here is just trying to optimize this a little bit. So let's just make sure at least that I don't get an error in those first 3 lines. I got to change more of this code. But yeah, so okay. So now these are arrays. And so with a set in them. And so yeah, when I get to the row, this accessor would still be the same you were using an array, so this is actually fine. So why did I get false for both of these? Still, it might be this sub key thing. Yeah, so yeah, I'm feeling this doing it like that. So why am I? Something is wrong. Yeah, I can still use has. I can still add these here. Does anybody know what is wrong? I think this is fine. Yeah, this is fine. Cause yeah, I'm filling out an array with all the sets in it. See, that's why I did it the way that I want to do it, because I got the right answer pretty quick. This way, I gotta like think, man. Now I gotta like, yeah, I gotta like actually print this out and see what the heck is going on. Yeah, so this will be right. Array of 9 should give me 0 through 9. And this should just give me the rows that I want. This should not change. This will just give me a 0 through 9. A 0 through 8. And then where am I using these that could be funky? Yeah, I'm just accessing whatever's in that array and just adding to it, which should mutate it. But somehow I'm finding a duplicate early, because I'm finding a duplicate in the problem that shouldn't be finding a duplicate. Should be true. So what I can do is maybe here I can say console.log. I can print out the row. Print out the column. And then I can see I just print out here when I find a duplicate. Duplicate is like I find a duplicate value. Because I'm only going to hit this one time. So I'm saying it's saying that I'm fine. I'm getting down to row 1 in column 5 and I'm having a duplicate in 5. So I'm getting to row 1. So this is row 1. Oh, my bad. I'm up here. Row 1 and then column 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, so it's thinking I got a duplicate. It's thinking I have a duplicate 5 on this from this 5. How is that the case? How is it? So yeah, as soon as it sees a duplicate at all, it thinks I have a duplicate. So it's probably something with the logic that's screwed up some sort of way. Yeah, I don't see how it's getting these mixed up. Unless I messed, hold on, did I mess the field up? Yeah, it says a field 5 with array 5. You want 5 items with 0. And yeah, I have no idea why this ain't working. Let me see what y'all saying. Might be that they're constants. Yeah, maybe so. Since it's an array. Oh yeah, because I changed them from an object to, but I mean it's still an object, so I would think that I could mutate it without, I mean I can try that. Let's see. Let me see. I still got that same thing. Why I'm having a duplicate? So why is it? It's like, so I'm gonna have to do more printing out. It's the only way. Let me change these back though, because I think those was fine. I'm gonna have to see which one of these is false in each go. I'm actually just gonna print out what's in each of these in each go, so I can see what's inside of there. Y'all see what I'm doing in a second. I'm just gonna print out this. I could have done. Gotta be an easier way to do this, but it's kind of doing it kind of. All right, so I'm just gonna copy this over. I don't know why I typed all this stuff out before I figured out what I want to do. So this is column. Well. This would just suck in the interview. It's taking all this time. Rows. I don't know why I just didn't copy that over, but y'all just work with me, man. I'm trying to do some optimization. We'll see. I'm trying to see down here when I get to this duplicate. Scene values in row. Scene values in column. Yeah, it's like it got everything got the same thing in it. Yeah, the rows and columns have the same stuff in them. Oh, it's giving, okay. It's saying in the first, it's giving me references to the same set. So how can I fill with? See, that's why this part right here is what's screwing it up. Then I can't fill with the same. I can't do this. I thought it would just give me a new set in each one, but it's just giving me the same object. So how do I get a new set? How do I fill with a new set? All right, somebody look like they're about to say it. I'm about to just ask ChatGPT. Because I didn't know that. I don't usually, in an interview, so like when I did this problem first, that's why I just avoid stuff like this. Because then you don't ever want to get caught with something like this in an interview. Just use what you know. And that's why I just literally wrote out all the sets. I wrote out a different set for each one. Because I'm like, I don't want to get caught in some kind of weird nuance that I don't understand. You know what I'm saying? So, or I forgot about, you know what I'm saying? So, I'm gonna ask ChatGPT over here. Oh yeah, and just let y'all know I ain't cheat over something over here. All I asked was from earlier. I asked about the array field, which I told y'all I was gonna do. And then, yeah, I just asked about this right now. Yeah, when you ask, and yeah, here I was just all other stuff, so I wasn't cheating or nothing. I wouldn't do that. Ain't no point in me get on here and do that. Array 9, field set, new set. You're not creating 9 separate set instances. You are creating one set object in every slot. An array references that same object. So if you need to add something to them, it shows up in all of them. What the heck? You want each element to be a different set. So I want to do something like this. Or a map. See, I would have screwed that up, man. I would have totally screwed that up in the interview. Array, field, and then you want to map to a new set. But it just seems like the field of that would just do that. Like, why is this not just doing that? That's a weird JavaScript thing. Maybe I don't understand. Yeah, Sam, I see you said the right answer. My bad, man. I'm just looking. I just didn't see it. So, oh, man. Yeah, I definitely didn't know that this would be different than just doing this. Array, field. So I guess when you do field and you put an object in, that's just something you got to know. Unless you decide to do a map, which you'll copy it out. Or using from. Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, man. I would have not known that in the interview. I would have been stuck. I mean, I would have did it a whole nother way and got it right before. But the problem is, though, if I would need to do a more complicated version of this problem, I would be definitely stuck. I probably would just have to create a function. If I got stuck and I couldn't do this, I would literally create a function that would just build these based on the size of, if I had to do a dynamic board based on the size of the board, I would just build these dynamically. I would just build an array and just loop through and just populate the array. because that's what this is doing behind the scenes. This is just a better way to write it. But that's, I mean, this is going to do that many operations behind the scenes. So yeah, I wouldn't have got that one, man. I would have screwed that up. But yeah, it fixed the problem, and I had to debug to find that out, so I can get rid of all this stuff for right now. Or maybe I shouldn't get rid of that. So I'm kind of going to the notion, if I had a dynamic board size, which is that a problem? Another similar problem or something? Oh, it's probably Sudoku solver. I ain't gonna do no Sudoku solver right now. But anyway, if this board was a dynamic size, I handled it right here. Rows would be passing board.length right here, and then board dot oh shoot, so this would be the longest. Well, yeah, I guess the board would have to be a perfect square, so I would just assume that the board is a perfect square. So I would know that the length would be the 0, 1, the first row, whatever the length of that one is for the columns. And since it's a perfect square, I would know that I would have that same number of... No, the boxes though, if it's the board could be any size, then the boxes would be... Shoot. Those boxes could be anything that fits in the grid. So yeah, the boxes would be a lot harder to do, actually. 3 by 3 boxes. I guess if... Yeah, you'd have to have some kind of constraints to do this, man. Like, it would have to at least tell you that what the sub boxes are. Are the sub boxes like a quarter of the grid? Or the sub boxes like a fourth of the grid? Like, or is it 4 sub boxes? Like, what are the sub boxes? But I guess the sub boxes needs to be a number. Oh, the sub boxes needs to be the number, because it has to be unique numbers in a Sudoku. So yeah, there's only so many Sudoku boards you can do, because it has to be a perfect square. So you can only do like 3 by 3. I guess you can do a 4 by 4, because yeah, it'd just be 12. Yeah, so but it has to be, your board size would be what you be getting passed in would be the board size. Yeah, that's kind of tough, man. I guess it would always be 3. Always be a third of whatever your board width or length is, I guess. And then you multiply that together. So I don't know, man. That's kind of tough. Because if I was doing 5 by 5, or sorry, not a 5 by 5, but like a 25 length by 25 width board, yeah, I don't know, man. That's tough. Yeah, that would be, yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna try to do this, but I at least made this a lot more simpler. So this is at least more simpler. But I'm not about to try to do the harder problem tonight. I might do that in the next one. Figure that one out. But I did make this look a lot better, so that's good. So yeah, I'll try to answer a couple more questions. I appreciate y'all hanging with me while I did that. Are you gonna save this live? Yeah, on Instagram, House of Marlena. Appreciate you watching. Yeah, I'm gonna save this live. I'm probably gonna post. It's gonna be posted on my YouTube. So I'm streaming right now across YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, all at the same time. So you can go and switch to any other channel, watch me at the same time. Follow me on a different channel. Follow me on this channel that you're watching me on, whatever you want to do. But the lives will be saved on YouTube like the whole time. And then I'll probably like cut down the live into different, like a shorter version of it. And yeah, so yeah, my boy Felix on Facebook. What's up, man? Appreciate you watching. AB YouTube said respect, boy, grind these leak codes. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, appreciate Flygon on Carlos on YouTube for some comments there, trying to help me out. I appreciate that. Let's answer some questions. It doesn't because the description will always be a 9x9 board. I think you were answering a question to another thing. Let me go back up toward the top and just answer some questions. Oh, dang. I lost some comments. Yeah, I'll add some questions in here. I'm just answering general questions now. It could either be about the problem or it could be about tech in general. I'm a software engineer. I work as a principal software engineer at about like a medium-sized tech company. Yeah, I've been doing it for like over 10 years now, and I do these leak codes because some of the interviews still call for it. Maybe one day they won't in this new AI world or whatever, but right now they still do, as far as I know. I've just seen some friends that went through an interview process, so they definitely still ask these. Man, I'm sorry, Samuel, man. I'm sorry. I don't have the premium, man. But maybe ChatGPT knows. What company? I can't spell when people watching. See if it can find it on a website somewhere. Google. I mean, it seems kind of, it don't seem too good. It's saying Google, Amazon, Microsoft. I mean, that's just basically all the FANG companies. Like, so I don't know. That's not good. If I had Leak Code Premium, I'd be able to tell you, but I'm not paying for it right now because I'm not actively interviewing. But yeah, I'm sorry, man. No, I mean, what's the name of the company you work? I work for this company called Live Person. It's like a chat company, so we offer chat to other companies. So like if you go to like Delta.com or Verizon.com, T-Mobile, United Healthcare, we got like some really big customers. So like if you go in there and like chat with them, like you, instead of calling or instead of emailing, you say, hey, chat here, chat now. Usually, or for a lot of these major companies that you do that with, it's usually the company that I work for that provides that chat box. And I work with the front end application for that chat box. So that's what I do in my day job. So yeah, and I just got promoted to principal engineer, which was cool. So yeah, I've been working on a lot of more high level stuff, and I was already kind of doing that before to try to prepare to get the promotion. So, but it's nice to finally get the promotion. So yeah. So last question was what's happening on line 8 and 9. What you said, 7, 8, 9, 8 through 10. Oh yeah. So let me just widen this a little bit, maybe. Yeah. So for 8, 9, and 10, what's happening is I actually just changed this. It's basically creating an array with 9 things in it, and it's filling it with a new set every time. And I had to change this to be like this so I could basically create these arrays that have a set in them, and then I use that to basically remove all these comments. I use that to store the values that I've seen, like here, and here. So that's what that's doing on 7, 8, 9, or 8, 9, and 10. Do you write JS and TypeScript daily? Mostly JavaScript. I don't write TypeScript daily. We haven't converted everything to TypeScript. Personal projects, I do a lot of TypeScript. So I do a lot of JavaScript. Well, no, I don't even say. Why did I say that? Personal projects, I don't do a crazy amount of TypeScript either. Just on some of my personal projects, but on mostly every day I'm using JavaScript. Mostly pure JavaScript. And somebody just came in here and left a whole crazy comment, man. Just go, my boy. Probably Python or JavaScript. Oh, the language I'm using is Python. JavaScript. My dude making them crazy comments just screwed me up. Did you go to university? Yeah, I got a computer science degree. I got that like 10 years ago now, though. Easiest coding language to learn for beginners, I would say Python, and then JavaScript coming in as a close second for the easiest programming language to learn because it's dynamically typed. Those two languages are dynamically typed. They're easy to learn. They're not verbose. They're very human readable compared to a lot of other languages. They're considered high level languages instead of low level languages, so they're farther away from machine code. So that makes them easy to learn and easy to read. What language you coding in? Yeah, JavaScript. I already answered what company I'm working for. Chat, I should give up on Java and go to Python. Java is there's still companies asking for Java in the real world. Now, yeah, on the internet, people going to tell you Java, just do Python all the time. That's what the internet going to say. They're going to say use Python over everything. But in real life, real jobs, a lot of companies are still enterprise companies are using Java. And, all companies are writing JavaScript, no matter what the internet says. A lot of JavaScript because JavaScript still runs. That's what runs in browsers. So don't ever let anybody tell you JavaScript isn't popular. It's extremely popular. I remember coding regular JavaScript. The problems were just too complex. What you mean in coding challenges or you mean at work? I subscribed. I learned that you can't run from DSA. Man, dude. So the first probably 7 years of my career, I ran from DSA. I got my first job. They didn't really do that back then because I'm kind of old. I started in the industry 10, 12 years ago. So a lot of the mid-level companies weren't doing that back then. But then once I got to the last 5 years or so, it was all these big companies, the big ones, where you get the money and the big opportunities, like Amazon and Airbnb and Stripe and not Stripe, but yeah, I guess Stripe too, and Square and these big, Amazon, Microsoft, the FANG companies, Facebook, Netflix, all of them were doing coding challenges. And so I had to stop running from it. And it felt so insurmountable at first. I was like, there's no way I could do these trivia style problems with that interview pressure. And I just kept practicing. Every time I get on here, I always plug Algo Monster tool as the tool that helped me have a major breakthrough. It's called Algo Monster. It helps you learn the foundational things first, and then that's what you use. You learn data structures and algorithms first. All the data structures you need to know, and all the algorithms that you need to know, and you learn them based on return on investment, based on ROI. So you're learning the most important ones first that show up in interviews first. And then you're just going to do a bunch of problems under those data structures and algorithms till you just get them fine-tuned. And once you memorize those data structures and algorithms, for example, to iterate over a two-dimensional array, this is something I just know, you know what I'm saying? Because I've done so many problems like that. And so instead of you just going on LeetCode doing 1,000 problems, learn the patterns and learn how to learn the data structures and algorithms first to build a foundation, and then learn the patterns so that when you see certain problems, you'll see the patterns in certain problems and you'll be able to assign the right solution and data structure and algorithm to that problem, to many problems, instead of just memorizing the solutions to 1,000 problems, which is not possible to do. But anyway, I went on a tangent. But yeah, man, same thing here, man. I was running from DSA, and yeah, I had to get on it. And I eventually, once I got on it, it got easier and easier and easier. And I'm not saying I passed every interview. No, I still won't pass every interview. But I got to the point where I passed FANG interviews, I passed mid-level company interviews, I passed small-level company interviews. I was able to get offers doing some very difficult interviews and passing and like knocking those interviews out the park. And I never thought I would be in that place, because these problems seem like crazy when you first see them. Even though I had already been working in the industry for like a number of years, like this is not day-to-day work that you do, these kind of problems. Depending on the job that you have, most jobs you won't be just doing this kind of trivial type stuff and every day. So anyway, can you write a program where to give you a straight hairline? That's kind of funny, man. Yeah, my hairline, man, it ain't really perfectly straight, man. But you ain't have to do me like that, dog. You ain't have to do me like that. That's messed up, man. That was good though. That was really good. Cause I was reading that junk like it was serious, man, and then hit me with the hairline. Yeah, I got my hair cut, but it kind of get a little fuzzy. Anyway, you do this every... No, I'm not doing these every night. I do these like once a week. I'm gonna try to level up to about like 2 nights a week doing these lives. I might not do coding challenges every night, but I might do like Q&A one night, coding challenge another night. I usually try to stick to every Friday. And I'll do one of these live, but I'm gonna try to step it up, because I mean, it's where I'm getting the most like interaction with the community, like tech community, developer community, is on these lives more than my content. I also post like, you know, tech content and stuff like that on my channels, all the different channels that I'm on streaming from. But these lives, man, I feel like that's where it's really like the energy is at. I feel like, especially on like TikTok and YouTube, and you know, on Twitter, looks like there's like 12 people in there, which is kind of cool. So yeah, so that's where I get like the most interaction from. But anyway, isn't this big O of n squared time complexity? No, because since the board is fixed to 9 by 9, it's always going to be constant. Now, if this board was a dynamic size, then we would start talking about more complex like time complexities. Like you probably would get like n times m of whatever the width of the board is and whatever the height of the board is. If it's not even, you would get like n times n, or you would get n times m if the width and the length are different. But I think in this case you might be right, like the width and the length would be the same of the board. But in this case, since it's fixed to 9, it's constant, because it always just be 89 things you have to look at. So yeah, Samuel was talking about feel is vague and how it does things. Yeah, man, like feel screwed me. He's talking about JavaScript array.feel. I definitely didn't know that. That was a nuance that I probably knew it, but I just forgot. Like I just haven't used feel without like looking it up, you know, in a while. Like usually if I use it, I would have just looked it up. But I try to do these coding challenges for memory, and sometimes you forget these little nuances, you know. And so that's why in a coding interview, like when I first did this problem, I just avoided that. I didn't even I got the answer right by just completely avoiding stuff that I don't know. Stick to the stuff that you know. If you got to do something in just a loop and it's got to be super verbose, just stick with that. Because if you get stuck on trying to do like use fancy functions that you don't completely understand, without a doubt, you do not want to waste that kind of time in an interview. You don't have enough time to be stuck on syntax. Like you just don't. So just avoid it. Keep going, King. Currently into web dev. Appreciate that. Leilani, appreciate that. Hope you keep going in web dev. Like definitely don't let this AI get you distracted, you know, from a lot of people get on here and like, I'm not getting into anything anymore because of AI. Please do not let AI scare you out of doing anything, which, you know, like trying to do anything in tech. Like you are doing it overcomplex. Just solve all 3 separately. I don't know, man. Look up a solution, see if you can find an easier way to do it. I think you literally have to set up data storage for each of the 3 things you're checking. Which, if that's what you're saying. Yeah, now I'm getting back to the part where I was struggling. So let me go down to the bottom of the comments. I think this channel is gonna be my regular. I think it's Lilas Kunder on YouTube. Appreciate that, man. Please follow and hit me up, DM me, whatever channel you're on. Like, I love to answer questions. That goes for anybody. Like, DM me if I didn't get a chance to answer your question, or if you just want to keep in touch with me. You just follow, DM, all that kind of stuff. And if you DM, I'll follow you back. If I feel like we have a conversation, of course. And so yeah. I hope you do keep watching, man. I'm gonna keep doing these every week at least. This is Java. No, this is JavaScript. What the code for? So the code at the top of the thing is the problem statement. It's called Valid Sudoku from LeetCode.com. I already finished it. So anybody that's jumping in, I already finished it and got the right answer. So that's why it just looks like I'm just chilling. I'm just answering questions right now. Which I probably should start putting some on the screen after I get done, like success, and then just put what I'm doing. But every time I do these, I make a small improvement. Can I create an app? Dang, I'm man. I got old like that. I'm Oh man, I'm Now, I appreciate the question. Pen Studio. Can I create an app on Flutter with GPT? Yeah. Oh yeah, with Chat GPT for sure, man. Vibe code at the death, man. Just start vibe coding. I would suggest have the vibe, whatever you're vibe coding with, ChatGPT in that case. I would probably maybe not use ChatGPT directly, but like use Cursor or GitHub Copilot or something like that to vibe code it. Lovable or something. I don't know, some other thing. And I don't know if Lovable does Flutter. I don't know what Lovable does. I haven't used Lovable, but I'm just throwing stuff out there. But I suggest you to learn while you're doing this stuff. Like, make sure it's teaching you too. AI is a great tool to have it do stuff for you, but it's also a great tool to teach you and help you build your skills too. Because you want to come out of this after you build an app. You want to come out of this with some skills and some knowledge to help you innovate later. If you just let the AI do everything and you don't learn something, like, it's harder for you to advance and tell the AI what to do next, as far as constantly iterating, like advancing your knowledge in app development. Like, at least let it teach you something. I'm not saying it has to teach you how to code exactly, but let it teach you how an app works. What are the fundamentals of an app technically while it's building it? At least learn that. Even if you don't learn the language and how to code directly, at least make the AI teach you what it's doing. Because you need to know how an app works in order to know how to innovate. Like, that's the thing people are missing with vibe coding. Yeah, you can just automate something and let you build an app, but if you're not learning anything, like, it's gonna be hard for you to innovate technically. Now, if you're just some kind of CEO, non-technical person, and you want to try to jump on there and build an app, then you don't care about learning anything technically. That's okay, but I mean, that's fine. But honestly, I don't think you probably should be building an app. Like, you shouldn't be downloading Cursor and building an app if you're completely non-technical. I don't think it's gonna work out well. But anyway, yeah. In my opinion, AI code isn't good because it can't create something complex. I mean, I think it's getting better at building stuff complex. I appreciate you saying that, or commenting. I think it's getting better at that. I think the main problem I see with it is the context window. And it still can't replicate a developer when you hire a developer to your company, they onboard for 3 months, for like 3 months to 6 months before they hit like a super productivity level. But once they do, those experiences add up to a huge context window that a human has of history, of knowing the bugs, knowing the nuances of a system, knowing the context, knowing this different stuff. When they build these LLM models, when they build these LLMs like God, dog, I'm getting all tongue twisted, man. ChatGPT 5, they just built it, right? Before that was like 4.5. They build these models and they're fixed. They have to train these models for like, months or whatever. Then they build them, optimize them, and they're fixed. And it doesn't learn anything until the next model is built. It's not learning or growing or getting better in any kind of way. GPT 5 is fixed like it is until they build the next one, 5.56. What they do to trick you into thinking, and I wouldn't say trick you, but what they do to make it look like it's learning is they have this thing called a context window, and context window stores your chat history. You can add stuff to the context window in different, depending on what tool you're using. You can set up MCP servers to sort of do make it be able to call stuff, and that's not really that can pull stuff for context, but that's part of your context window. You can set up instruction files to be part of the context window, and that sort of creates sort of a context window of the thing seeming like it's learning, but the LLM itself is not learning. It's just every time you prompt again, it's just pulling back in all that context window. And the larger the context window grows, the more tokens you use, the longer the query takes, the more expensive it gets to run the query. And it gets to a point where most of the AI tooling is going to start to try to shrink that context window in any way it can. Now, a human developer that works over a course like me that's been in a company for 10 years, I'm not shrinking my context window when I work. I'm remembering stuff from 10 years ago that I'm using every day. And so nuances, things about the company that only I would know, so that's my issue with AI, that it can't easily replicate right now. Now, if you're building a brand new app from scratch, AI is really good at that. You know what I mean? But as time goes on, and when you're trying to build stuff that AI hasn't seen before, because all these LLMs are built off history, it's built off a large code, but when you're trying to build something innovative and brand new, it's not going to be able to help you much. So it's not learning. And even when you build something new with it, it's not going to learn and remember. It's going to remember your chat history, but as soon as you delete your chat history, or it gets too old and the chat company decides to tear it off of your history, then it forgets it, and it acts like your problem is brand new. And so that's the limitations I see with chat. And oh, nice, man. Oh no, I think you're talking to somebody else. Yeah, and that's where they're saying they're the AI, open AI, the people that made ChatGPT, and Sam Altman, the CEO. That's their goal, is to get to the thing they call AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, where it can basically learn. It can basically it doesn't need these hacky, I wouldn't even say hacky, but it doesn't need these methods they're using now to create a context window and kind of act like it's learning. It doesn't need that. It doesn't need these settings to be stored to act like it actually will learn, and it actually will be able to do these long term, if you're going to be replacing a job, the AI agents that you use need to be able to do long term problem solving. It can't just be these little short bursts, and then the next time you run it, it forgets everything that it learned the day before. If it makes a mistake one day, it needs to be able to know about that mistake from the day before. And it can somewhat do that today, but at scale, and when the context window grows too large, we've all heard about Claude Code and how, once you run out of tokens, you're out of tokens. You know what I mean? And that just is what it is. And so these things are expensive to run, the bigger the context window is. It's think about when you prompt in ChatGPT, when you first start, you're just the prompt that you're giving it. That's it. That's the context. Just whatever you write in there. But as you use it for a long time and you start adding in instructions and you start adding in chat history, every time you prompt it again, it's not just taking that prompt. It's taking the full history and sending that. That's what the LLM in the chat is having to process at that time. Everything. And that takes a lot of computing power to do. And so the AI companies are doing everything in their power to try to limit that, because they have to, at this point. So anyway, maybe we'll get there one day. Sam is saying not necessarily true. You can load a context like updating an entire code base. Yeah, but you can do that. Yeah, but as soon as you ask a query, then it's gonna have to take that whole code base, and that's using up your context. When it depends on what you're using, like Claude or Gemini or Copilot or whatever. the more code, the bigger your code base is, the more tokens you use, the more context window you take up. And you can look up on each of the providers. They'll give you the maximum context window that you're allowed to have, and it's a limit. It's all of it's limited. It's either limited by tokens or limited by some context window size. And so yeah, you can load up your code base in there, but what I'm saying is that the LLM is not learning like Chat GPT 5, Claude, Sonnet 4. It's not learning from the code base you update. It's not taking that information and allowing other people to use it. It's simply storing that context somewhere, and eventually the context window grows so large where it can't look at everything at the same time, if that makes sense. It's it'll just stop. It'll say, hey, you've maxed out your context window, you need to pay for more context window. And so that's sort of the limitation that we're at right now. Yeah. And it just, I think that's what keeps it from being able to just because yeah, so what Sam is saying, like, it's fine for like human assisted development, the context windows that we have today, because I'm still keeping the year-long, 3-year-long, 4-year, 5-year-long context, like, and it's not just the code base that's the context, it's other things. It's context outside. It's like knowing what, outside of the code, what is this code stored on, what is this code being deployed to. Like, there's a lot of context that it's not just in the code with software development. There's a lot of stuff, and that's why it's so complicated. And so you have to tell it, hey, this code is gonna be running on like GCP. It's like gonna be running on a Kubernetes cluster in GCP. And so there might be nuances to the way the code is. If the AI doesn't know that, it can make mistakes. It can think you're going to be running on AWS and E2C instance, or EC2, whatever they call it, instance. And so, it could be making mistakes because it doesn't know the context. You got to save that context somewhere. And that's just one little thing. There's nuances to that, even that context. There's configuration. So it's just a lot of stuff, that makes it, there's a big difference between running an AI agent taking over somebody's job versus, doing some menial task or being an assistance tool to developers that currently code. But, I do think AI is going to take some jobs. It's going to reduce the number of jobs. But I just think that it's mostly, at least for the next, for the short-term future, is going to be more AI assistant in my experience. But, yeah, I want to learn a lot more languages, but I want to perfect Python as much as possible. Yeah. I think that's good. I think it just depends on your goals. Like, if you're trying to get a job right now with Python, or you're trying to like build something crazy with Python, something deep, then yeah. But I wouldn't. I guess what I would say to you, Mauricio. I appreciate you saying that. What I would say, I know you're talking to somebody else, but I wouldn't say don't get obsessed with just going too deep in one language. I would try to be a little bit more agnostic, especially now because of AI. It's like, I just think, you're always going to be able to go back to Python and dig deeper and deeper and deeper over the years. But like, maybe try learning another language. Like, now that you've learned one pretty deeply, like, the second one's going to be pretty easy to learn. So why not try to get some exposure? It's not, once you learn that first language and you understand the concepts of programming and a couple of the different programming paradigms, maybe go learn an object oriented. Like, you've learned Python, maybe go and like learn something object oriented, like C# or Java or something, to kind of spread your, become more T-shaped and spread your your breadth of knowledge a little bit more, like. But I get it. You want to try to make sure you're an expert in one before moving to the next one. But I just wouldn't obsess too much, overdoing like too much. But that's what I'm thinking. Oh, and isn't Python? Yeah, I think Python's OOP too. My bad. But I just mean, like, maybe just try maybe like a statically typed language, or something with different principles. just to kind of spread your knowledge. And yeah, it's you know, I think that you need to be T-shaped. So you need to have somewhere that you have some depth, but also you don't want to just get pigeonholed in one spot. You need to at least have a basic level. Now, in my opinion, I know people got different opinions in the comments and everything, but my opinion, you at least want to have a high level of knowledge of other languages and when to use them and when not to use them, what their strengths and weaknesses are. Because in a real coding job, I've never been in a job where you just, I just never been in a situation where you just only read one language, you know. And then now with AI, it's like we're writing less and less code ourselves. And who knows, man, in the next 5-10 years, there might be a whole new language that the AI writes that's more, because a lot of these coding languages we built for human readability. You know, there might be a whole new language in the future that's for AI readability, that's better, that's more geared toward AI versus human maintainability. All the coding languages, frameworks, and tools we made, a lot of it was due to trying to make it easier for humans to maintain, share, and develop upon code. But once it's AI is doing the bulk of it, you know, a lot of these frameworks and languages we don't need as much anymore. And so, you know, I would, you know, you need to develop expertise in a certain area in order to work in this workforce. But also, as you'll see, as you like, if you decide to go, or I don't know what your situation is, but when you get in a job and you start like getting up to like higher levels, like senior dev, principal dev, it's starting to, like, the excuse that like I only know JavaScript and stuff like that starts to become a little bit harder to get away with. Like I only work in JavaScript, you know, like you can't say that when because you're expected to handle problems at the company level. You're not expected just to handle problems at your team level. So you can't just say I just know one language and that's all I'm going to do. When you become like a principal engineer, yeah, you have certain languages that you're more of an expert in, but you're just more T-shaped. Like if somebody says, hey, you need to go read some Python code to see what the problem is over there, you still can go and do it. Like you know enough about it. Because me, I'm not a Python expert at all. I don't write Python day to day. I don't. But I know enough about it if I need to go look at. Like I just wrote a Python script a couple days ago in order for my CI/CD pipeline. So I needed to I wanted to make the AI write a code review automatically on my pull request. So every time I do a merge request to my code, I wanted the AI to automatically do a code review on it and send me the results in a comment. So I wrote a Python script, you know, with the help of AI, and then I had to kind of, you know, tweak it and code it to make it work like I wanted it to work. But there was a lot of AI help, which made me do it faster, and I didn't have to, and it taught me a lot, and I didn't have to dig in as deep into like historical ways of learning. I just let the AI teach me. But yeah, I wrote a Python script, and I didn't just say, hey, I got to do this in JavaScript because that's the language I've been using for the past, mostly for the past 5 years. You know, when I first started my career, I was using C#, which is a whole different statically typed, object-oriented language. You know, Microsoft shop style language, Microsoft owned language. I used that for the majority of my career when I first started out, and so later in my career I've been using JavaScript mostly, but I built sort of a T-shaped approach, and I think that works best if once you start trying to solve problems across different teams in your organization that use different languages. You need to kind of know something about these other languages in order to be successful. So that's all I'm saying. But I think wherever you might not be in that part of your journey yet. Like wherever you're at, you might need to really dig down into a certain language, and I get that. So I'm not going against what you're saying either. I'm just saying, and you know, we can do and you know, with different scenarios you might want to start to open up. So anyway, yeah, I would say that starts at the junior level. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you should start kind of learning, getting exposure to other language, because I think what I lean more toward the agnostic side. I'm language and tool agnostic. Like even with this AI stuff, I'm not allegiant to one language. I'm not allegiant to one tool. I'm allegiant to whatever gets the job done and the best tool for the job. And so if I need to switch, I've learned enough languages now that if tomorrow my company says, hey, you're going to be using Python for the next 6 years, or I don't know, I might not be there 6 years, but like the next 1 year, it's no problem. I can just switch over. Or they say you need to use Java. I probably wouldn't like it, but I could do it because I've learned concepts of different programming languages, and the language itself, I'm agnostic to the language I use. I'm just trying to solve problems. And so that's even with AI, like AI coming in, writing a lot of the code. A lot of people are older developers, and developers like me are kind of resistant to it because they're like, man, I'm so used to writing the code. But it's like, AI is just a new tool that writes code, that builds software. You know what I mean? And so you still can go in there and write some of the code or whatever you want to do, but at the end of the day, it's just another tool to build software. And that's what we are. We're problem solvers. We're called software engineers for a reason. Our role titles in most of these companies is software engineers, or software developer. It's not just coder. It's not just programmer. And so, we should be solving problems with software, and not just trying to code. I prefer working in functional programming. Hey, I understand. What have you used something that was OOP? Like, I really like C#, man. C# was like my first love. Like, that language, I love that language. It's a little bit more verbose than it has more boilerplate in it, less than Java, but more than probably JavaScript and Python. But I like that language a lot. Yeah. Let me answer a few more questions. And I'm going backwards through the questions. That's why it's so hard. Oh, check out, so Bailey Castillo. My bad, I missed your comment. Check out the NIST list of DSA's best kept secret. 1,000 of them described and linked to repos. Okay, yeah, I'll check that out. That seems kind of cool. Let me see if I have any more comments. Patty Run, I probably missed you, but I appreciate you. Appreciate you telling me congrats for the promotion. I hate C#. I worked in it. .NET. Microsoft tends to complicate things. I can't blame you for hating it though. I liked it. I like working in the Microsoft ecosystem, especially when they made .NET Core, and it can run anywhere instead of just how they had it before. So, but yeah, I like C#. But I get it, man. It's some people don't like it. I know a lot of people that hate Java, man, with a passion. Ruby on Rails. I haven't done any Ruby since college. And college is what taught me to be more agnostic. Like we had this class called 7 programming languages, and 7 programming paradigms, and we learned in the course of the semester we learned like 7 different languages, and some of them were functional programming, object oriented, statically typed language versus dynamically typed, interpreted languages versus compiled languages. Like we just learn all these different things about language. Once you learn these different things about languages, it just makes it a lot easier to learn more languages and just move around. And then you can still learn certain language. You need to have some languages really deeply. You need to have some go-tos. I'm not saying that. You got to have some go-tos for coding interviews. You got to have some go-tos for your work, for getting a job, like you do. But I also think like having general knowledge is important too. Is Valid Sudoku not big O of one time? Yeah, that's what I got here, right? Big O of one constant time complexity. Or you're saying it is not? It definitely is. I can't lie, as a language, Rust looks the most intriguing. I've been hearing more and more about Rust. Maybe I should try it out. I've been hearing a lot about that. What do you think about C? Whoa, C is like a super low level language. I think that's not really that great for a beginner. I actually started, my first language I learned was C++, which is like a derivative, a subset of the C language. And C# is, I think, is a subset too, I believe. But yeah, C++, that's what I first learned, and that's a lower level language. It's more verbose. There's more code to write to do the same things that you do in some of the higher level languages. And but C is like way below it. Like, I mean, that's even closer to the machine code. Like assembly. Like, I had to learn assembly in college, and that's just like, man, it's like you don't. It's not as pretty and readable, and it's like you got go-to statements, and like everything is just harder to do, and like it's just, yeah. Like if you take an algorithm and then go to ChatGPT and tell you to give you the algorithm in assembly code and go see what it looks like it looks crazy. Like you can't even read it unless you know what you're doing. Yeah, C is not practical. Does anyone actually use it for anything that's not embedded system? I don't know nobody that's using C, man. I don't know, like, professionally, unless you're doing some very niche specific thing. The lowest I see people go is like C++ for performance reasons. Like if it's something like super performance critical, I think C++ is considered like a really high performance language. Probably better than Python. Python's pretty good too as far as performance, but C++ is like considered really good with performance. So that's when I've seen people still use that professionally, but I ain't seen people go back to C. So anyway, somebody waving, Video Wonderland. I don't know if that's just spam or if you're really on here, but if so, appreciate it. I completed JavaScript, now jumping through React.js, so you can suggest me what to learn in React.js. Okay, I would learn, the difference between like class-based components and functional components. I would learn about React hooks, like all the different types of hooks. I would learn about reactivity. That's the whole point of React. I mean, that's the main point of React. Basic stuff like that. I would go through the documentation. Like, documentation ain't extinct. Like, go through the React documentation. It actually gives the learning in a good order. You go through the documentation and then you go to your other sites that ChatGPTs, your YouTubes, your other sites to help you learn the concepts if they can't teach you there. But like, people overlook the main documentation for these frameworks is actually really good because you're getting firsthand in the latest information about how they want you to use it. So yeah, that's what I would suggest to learn with React, like those different things. Those are state management, like, I mean, but that's across like most of the JavaScript frameworks. Those are sort of consistent things you want to learn. Oh dang, Samuel said Python is slow unless you're using some C++ under the hood, like NumPy. How do you say that? I never actually said that before, like pronounced it. But yeah, just vibe code, bruh. Yeah, man, I'm doing vibe coding a lot, like personal projects at work. I wouldn't call it vibe coding at work, but I mean, we definitely use AI a lot. But it helps that I've been a software engineer. It honestly does. Like, it's still, hallucinations are still an issue. Like I talked about, like I ran it on earlier, context window management is still an issue for AI. And so yeah, it still gets stuff wrong, and I have to fix it. And I have to direct it to fix it, or either have to fix it myself. So it hasn't been perfect, and I've tried a lot of different AI tools. I ain't tried everything, but I've tried a lot of different ones, and so it's I'm still doing software development even though I'm using this stuff. So I still think you should be building your skills, because I feel like I just posted a video on my channels today about the CEO of AWS saying that it's ridiculous to think that we would just replace all junior software developers and junior employees with AI. Because if we don't build a workforce pipeline that is learning and growing and gaining experience in some sort of way, then 10 years from now, there won't be proper innovation. There won't be proper, we're overlooking that you need people working and solving problems so that they can solve better, harder problems in the future. if everybody's just blindly vibe coding now, or they're just they're getting kicked out of their jobs or whatever, then you're not having anybody that's growing and getting better to solve harder problems in the future. Like your workforce is being basically like handicapped or whatever. And so that's what the CEO of Amazon, AWS, said recently. So I just posted a video about that on my channel. But so yeah, I just don't believe, at least in the near future, that like programming jobs are going extinct. Software development jobs are going extinct. Now, will there be less jobs? I do believe that, but they're not going extinct. For the reasons I've listed, way earlier in the live. So I know you can argue that big O of 81 reduces to big O of 1, but I don't agree. I mean, I think that's just big O notation. I think it just reduces down. It always reduces down to one of those, Moonless. I think I might agree with you. Yeah, you're probably right. It probably is 80, 81. And I think I said 89 early. Did I say 81 early? I hope I didn't get that math wrong. But anyway, yeah, I think you're right though, because it's fixed. Well, no, because it's big O of 1, because even if so let's say I had a function that was, let's take this loop out of it, all that stuff. Let's just ignore that loop. You just say I had 3 commands here, and this was like n. So this was like this was a thing a variable that actually grows with size. Let's call this the n, the same n that we have in big O notation. And I just had these 3 constant operations. Would you call that big O of 3, or would you call that big O of 1? Most people would just reduce this down to big O of 1. You know what I mean? And so if I were to reduce 3 down to 1, then it's the same as reducing 89 down to 1. You know what I mean? Because these count as separate operations. And these actually, I think when it's doing this array fill, is actually 9 operations in here, I believe. And so this is still a lot of operations. So but let's just call this 3 just for the sake of art. Like, let's say this was just me setting this to like 1, and then I set this to like 2. Like, we know this is just 3 operations. No matter what the size of n is, we always gonna do 3 operations. In that case, most people are still gonna call that big O of 1, even though it's, you could say it's big O of 3. And so that's what big O notation is. It reduces down because it's nominal. Whether that's 89 or 1,000, it's always going to be that. So I don't have to worry about it. Big O notation doesn't care about that, because I don't have to worry about scaling up my machines up or down, because it's always going to be 89. Always going to be 89. I don't have to worry about, like, once I get it running one time, I don't have to worry about scaling up the machine to get more runtime memory. I don't have to be worrying about scaling up the machine, with a better processor. I don't have to worry about horizontally scaling to get more processing and memory. Like, to get more scalability. I don't have to worry about vertically scaling or horizontally scaling, because at that point it's just constant. No matter how much input I process, how big n gets, I'm still only processing 89 things or 3 things or whatever the case. So that's why big O notation is just simplifying that to just say it's constant time, which is big O of 1. But I guess you technically could still say constant space or whatever, and then just still have this be 89. But I don't know. I think they would accept that in the interview. But that's a good question though, man. I don't think you're wrong at all either. I guess it's a good question. And I don't know why I keep saying 89, man. It's 81. Tripping. What laptop do you recommend? I gotta recommend the MacBook, because of it being like Linux based, and it's just you can develop iOS apps on there if you want to, or Mac OS apps. You don't have that option on Windows machines. Linux based, so like the terminal is really good. You can do a lot of stuff, like a lot of programming stuff. It lends itself to that. Not that you can't do a lot of stuff on Windows, but it's just certain things that are just easy to do on Macs. A lot of companies you'll see, like, even if you go to work at Google, like you can still pick to use a MacBook, because it's just developers mostly lean themselves toward MacBooks. A lot of them do. Even when they don't like it, like they still use a MacBook because it's just easier for development environments. But yeah, that's what I suggest. Yeah, I mean, what I'm using right now is a Mac Studio. What I'm actually streaming from is I'm using OBS, which is like a streaming thing, and then I'm using Restream to stream it across all the different platforms that I'm on, social media platforms. And OBS is like the program that I use. And yeah, I'm using the Mac Studio. I'm a level 1 SWE. What are some ways I can stand out from my colleagues that are more senior than me? That's a good question. I mean, you got the advantage that if you're just coming in, you've lived in a world of AI. It's possible that your senior companions, or whatever, your senior comrades or colleagues, what you said, it's possible that some of them are resistant to AI. I would totally lean into AI assisting you in your work. It will, supercharge your learning. I would ask them a lot of questions. I know that seems like you're not standing out from them asking them questions, but that will help you stand out. If you ask them questions, don't be afraid to ask questions, because there will be certain, if they've been there a long time, there'll be certain company domain information that they will have that you need, that there's no way for you to know outside of the company. So ask them a lot of questions. That will make, document a lot. I know it sucks, but one thing that helped me stand out is I document a lot. And so people will come to me for information like, did you make a doc on that? Did you have this information? Like a lot of questions, they think I just know all this stuff, but it's because I just document a lot. Like my Apple Notes on computer is crazy, because I document everything. So when somebody has a question, I always look like the expert, because I just documented a lot of stuff. Like where a lot of people get lazy on the documentation, and they're like, what was that ticket we worked on last year, blah, blah, blah. What was the issue? And if you have it documented, you just go back, look on your computer, search, find it, and then you look like you stand out. And the other thing is just always keep studying, work on side projects. I'm not saying telling you to work like crazy outside of work, but always just be interested and always be learning in some kind of way. Even if you find time to try to do it on the job, always just be, because the job's going to pigeonhole you into just kind of working on certain things. Make sure you explore some things outside of the confines of the job, and that will help you stand out as well. Try to take initiative to fix things, problems at the job, like problems that people have, dev experience problems, maybe problems that your customers have. Like try to, be a little proactive at certain times and say, hey, I want to try to work on this, or I just fixed this, dev pipeline for us, or I just made this a little bit easier for us. Like doing things like that will make you stand out. And be vocal. Like a lot of people, when they first start in their career, they feel like telling everything they're doing, they feel like it's corny. But unfortunately, man, that's how work world is. You got if nobody knows you did it, you didn't do it. You might as well not have done it. And I know it's not that simple, because sometimes they know you do something and they see you did it, but sometimes they literally don't see you did it. Like if you check in some code, you don't have to announce it, because they're gonna see that you did it because everybody's sharing the code. But there's certain things when you stay up late and you're working on something and you do it and then nobody knows you did it, it didn't happen. It really didn't happen. Like your manager especially and your team needs to know what you're doing. Even if it's like a little slight thing, you know what I mean? Like it does matter. Like people need to know what you're doing at work, because they don't know, you can't get credit for it. And that's just how it works. So don't be afraid to do that. So anyway, are you in big tech yet, son? No, I'm not in big tech. I mean, I passed interviews for big tech. I could have been in big tech, but I just didn't decide. I decided not to go. I kind of like where I was. And so, yeah. So I could have been in big tech, which that makes me feel good. But I'm cool. I'm cool on it right now. Big tech, but with the time I was trying to get into big tech, they had too many layoffs going on. Like literally the day I was going to join one company, not join, but I was going to get the offer for them, they had a hiring freeze. And I was like, that means they're about to lay off. Every time a company have a hiring freeze, they're about to lay off right after. So, yeah, I'm glad I didn't go there. But, I mean, it was a nice, it's a big company that everybody knows. But yeah, I'm cool only right now. Maybe in the future. I'm definitely cool right now though. But yeah, I work as a SWE right now. I actually just got promoted to principal software development engineer. So that's like one step above a senior engineer. So I'm pretty happy about that. A lot of work to get there. I think that jump from senior to principal is a hard one. And so I just recently did that. So yeah, I work at a tech company doing as a principal software engineer. I went to college, got a computer science bachelor's degree. And yeah, that's kind of my history. Do you think Linux is useful for all coding jobs and fields? I wouldn't say all coding jobs and fields. I mean, some you don't really have. Some jobs you won't have to touch it. Like if you're just working on a front end application that uses like React or something, and that's all they're asking you to do, then you're probably not gonna do much Linux. You know, outside of like maybe like knowing how to do some terminal commands and stuff like that. But it's not exactly. You don't have to have a mind for Linux to be able to use the terminal. So, you know, that's what I would probably say. But yeah, I think Linux is important if you start doing like, you know, start running Linux servers, like you start to do more DevOps type roles and you're running servers and you're hosting applications on Linux servers, then yeah, you might need to start using some Linux. I mean, I might need to start learning some Linux. Have you ever started launching your own company? Oh, that's a great question. So yeah, I definitely got my own company. I've been doing, at first it started as more like freelance, like doing a lot of freelance work for a number of years while I was working my day job. And then eventually I moved into like trying to build my own apps. And so yeah, I got a couple of apps on the App Store. And yeah, one of my apps is called Snippeta. Snippeta. It's called Snippeta. It's like basically a snippet management app, so you can like take snippets of stuff from your clipboard, save them in the app, and then you can pull up your let me show this. You can pull this up when you type. So like, yeah, am I showing? What am I showing? I don't even know what the heck I'm supposed to be showing. But yeah, so that keyboard at the bottom, you can like, basically you can just press these buttons to just like quick, what do you call it? Like shortcuts. And you can save this in your keyboard and you can use it in any app. So like you can save your AI, like you got AI prompts you use all the time. You can just save them in your keyboard. And then when you go to your app, your AI app, then you can just quickly switch the keyboard, click it, load the prompt into your keyboard. I used to use it for Instagram hashtags, so I could quickly add the hashtags I wanted. But people use it, like people using the app for a number of things, like so many different use cases. Like I seen some people use it for like messaging people on, to save their common messages that they send to people, so they can just quickly put it back on there again. So it's a very simple utility app, but I use it, and it's something that can actually hopefully make me some money. It's making a little bit of money now, but hopefully I can grow it. But what I want to do is just keep building apps. I'm not going for like the crazy blockbuster apps and stuff like that. I'm not trying to do that, but I'm trying to build like apps and services and SaaSes that can grow and make money over time. So that's my new goal. Can you please see your screen for once? Can you please? What I need to do? About seeing my screen? What do you mean? And did y'all see I had this oh no, y'all didn't see that. Never mind. I don't know what you're talking about. Can I please see your screen for once? What did it mean? I don't know what that meant. Do you make money for your apps? Yeah, I make a little bit of money for my apps. Not enough to make a full-time living. It's not nearly enough. That's my goal, though. That's my goal. So I haven't built enough apps, and I haven't put enough marketing in the apps because I got a full-time job. So I don't necessarily have the time I needed to do that. But now I'm trying to be a lot smarter with the time that I do have outside of my job to pour into. Because let me correct that. What I used to do is build apps for other people. I used to do like freelancing. So I built a lot of the apps I have in the App Store. I built for other people. Like it's this app called. I'm glad y'all asked this question, because most of the time I just answer AI questions on here, which it just get tiring, because it's like, man, I'm tired of AI. But yeah, I built this app called Foamposite. Let me show this app for a guy, and yeah, so like it's just basically, if you know what Foamposites are, they're like Penny Hardaway's shoe. And these are but these are like what he has is affiliate marketing in here. So every time somebody goes and buys a shoe or does something with a shoe or goes buy an accessory for a shoe, he makes money from it. This app it seems like a stupid simple app. This app actually gets a extreme amount of traffic, because it's like one of the only Foamposite apps on the App Store. There's not a lot of them that's like specifically for Foamposite. So he actually gets a lot of traffic, and he actually makes decent amount of money from this app. So, or at least I think he does. He don't tell me his money, but I can see the traffic on the app, so I can see people clicking the links and stuff, the affiliate links. So, but yeah, smart idea, man. I wish I would have, like, I'd actually buy this app from him. But yeah, I built this app for him. So I made money from that. You know, like I made these big chunks of change from building apps for people, but it's not scalable. Like I don't want to just keep working for other people building apps. I already work my day job, then I'm working building apps for other people. I just want to build my own apps that make money themselves. And so that's what that's what I'm trying to work on now. So I'm about starting to lose my voice, but I'm gonna try to answer some few more questions. Job market is cooked right now for new grads. Yeah, it's kind of rough right now for everybody, so especially new grads. So I really don't have any advice for that, but to wait it out and try to do real projects to make yourself stand out. To like I just said, I was doing freelance building apps for people. That's one way to stand out. Like build apps, get a contract written up, and put that on your resume as contract work. And that's a sort of a hack in order to get some experience on your resume where you would normally have none. Internships, maybe you can get internships, but I don't know. They seem like they're harder to get and super competitive. Like you got to get real good at LeetCode and stuff to get these internships, or get good at interviewing, even if they don't do LeetCode problems. You asked two questions. Can you scroll up? Wait, what? Oh, you mean down here? Oh, you mean like down here? Buenos on YouTube asking. I started problem solving recently. Can you suggest me something I should solve more or revise more? You mean problem solving? Oh, you saying, can you asking me to scroll up to answer your questions. My bad. Can you suggest me a platform where I can learn to make apps? I would say a platform where you can learn to make apps. I mean, these AI platforms really are good at teaching you, honestly, but I would go to YouTube, man. YouTube is just going. It depends on how you learn. If you learn visually, YouTube is probably a good place to start learning how to build an app. Or just go and Google and just search like courses. There's Udemy courses, and I don't know. There's like Code Academy. There's all these different places that teach you how to do it. But like, learn how you learn, whether it's a paid thing or free thing. Use AI to teach you. And then maybe start with YouTube, Code Academy, a course or something like that. That's what I would learn how to make apps. But I mean, now with AI, it's like I would really like when I learn new stuff now, it's mostly focused on AI learning. I started problem solving recently. Can you suggest to me something I should solve more or revise more? You mean within coding? Oh, on LeetCode. Okay, you answered that at the bottom. I'm gonna plug this again, man. I plug it every time I get on here. I mean, it's expensive, man, unfortunately, but Algo Monster, and it keep logging me in every time. Yeah, why is it logging me in? Get me out of here. It's called Algo Monster though, ALGO Monster. But Algo Monster focuses on the patterns, the different algorithms that you're going to have to learn, backtracking, depth first search, breadth first search, dynamic programming, binary search. I did that last time I went live. Graph, which this is what we just did today, is a graph problem. And it teaches you, in order of investment. These are the order in which this stuff comes up on interviews. And then the difficulty to learn, combination with the topic. So you learn these first 5 topics, you probably can start passing some interviews. Now, if you want to pass some harder interviews, you learn these 3. And then down here, the ones that are really not asked that much, they're harder to learn, and they don't show up on interviews that much. So they're basically trying to help you avoid stuff and help you focus on the stuff that's higher investment. Like 2-pointer problems, I done 1,000 of these. And sliding windows, I done 1,000 of these online and in interviews, on these lives and in interviews. And so that's why I like this platform. This is just a chart of how they teach you, but they're going to focus on these patterns first and these topics first. And then you're going to get so good at these topics that when a problem comes up, you're going to be able to do pattern recognition. And what this is, they have here is a flow chart, which is a pattern recognition flow chart, which basically these indigo boxes are what solution you should use. But these are the questions. Is it a graph? Yes. Is it a tree? Yes. You probably should be using depth first search in that case. And then so on. If it not a graph, then you can go all the way down here. Do you need to solve for the kth smallest thing? You're going to use a heap. No. Does it have a linked list in it? You're probably going to do 2 pointers. For a linked list problem, most of the time you're going to do some 2-pointer thing. So this thing it helps you do pattern recognition. You'll get good at this on your own, but this just formalizes it. And so then when you get inside of the actual platform, it's just going through basic data structures. It's going to teach you the data structures first. It's going to teach you the algorithms. Then it's going to go start digging into each pattern. And it's just going to start forcing you to learn the patterns. Like it's going to really dig into binary search and teach you how to learn it. And then when you go back to LeetCode, you're still going to use LeetCode, right? When you go back to LeetCode, then when you start reading these problems, you're going to be able to know how to solve these problems because you already know the foundation. So I highly recommend Algo Monster. That's what helped me have a breakthrough and helped me start to pass interviews for real, like the hard interviews. So I know I'm starting to lose my voice, but yeah, I hope that helps answer that question. Brinos, I appreciate the questions on YouTube. And anybody else that got any help from that? Let me see. So yeah, wow, bro. Thanks, literally, for explaining what I was about to ask. Oh yeah, I think that was about the Algo Monster thing. Yeah, that's how. Like this is what helps, cause like what happens is when you first come on LeetCode, that's why I was scared of LeetCode for years. You see so many problems. You're like, these companies can ask me one of 3,000. There's 3,000 problems on LeetCode.com. These companies can ask me all these different problems. Then they can make a variation of it. This is what broke it down for me. Like once I realized I only need to learn like these like 7 to 8 to 10 patterns. Like these are all that the problems are. Now some companies get a little weird and they go off the tracks. You can't do nothing about that. Like you just gonna either know the problem and like you can't do nothing about that. You just practice LeetCode problems to cover these companies that do these little weird side things. But when I interviewed, 9 times out of 10, it was one of these topics. And because I knew these topics well enough, I was able to at least get started, not get stuck. Like, because you're going to be able to pattern recognize when you need to use one of these patterns. And it's not that many. This simplifies the learning process. And a lot of people are going to say NeetCode. This is this thing called NeetCode, N-E-E-T. I can actually just go type it in, I guess. NeetCode.io. So NeetCode's a little bit easier than it has this sort of thing too. Where they kind of break it down. He breaks it down into different topics. And he has an order too. So he always didn't have this on there. For one thing, when I first started, he didn't have this. So I think he kind of took this. Either he inherently came up with this on his own, the guy that made this NeetCode thing, or he got it from Algo Monster. But this gives an order too of when an order which in to learn based on ROI. I can see that that's what it's doing now. Because like math and geometry going to be like some of the last things somebody going to ask you on an interview. Bit manipulation, greedy, like these are the lowest ones. You mostly going to get asked something out of this top group. And then, of course, backtracking and graphs come up a lot too in the harder interviews. But like if you're entry level, you're mostly going to be in this top range up here in trees. And so he greatly reduces the number of problems. And basically what he's saying is instead of doing like all the problems on LeetCode, he's saying if you just do these 10 problems from each of these sections, you're going to know enough to pass most of the interviews. And he's typically right. Like this is a highly rated resource. So NeetCode is good too. I just think NeetCode, they have the courses over here. I would still recommend you go to Algo Monster my phone died over here. Damn. I still recommend you go to Algo Monster to learn the basics. But even if you come over, like I don't know how good these are. Maybe they're good too. But learn the course, use Algo Monster to learn the basics of data structure and algorithms. And then you might want to come to LeetCode to start doing your problems instead of going back. Come to NeetCode to do your problems instead of going to LeetCode. Do these problems first and then go to LeetCode when you want to do some more problems. But still, to learn the basics, it's hard to just start. Even like here, if you just click here and you just start doing, it's hard to just start here without at least learning some fundamentals. Now he does have courses, but I don't know. Maybe these are good too. See, these are video based, so I think it would be. I think you if you learn by, that's the one thing I'll say about Algo Monster. You learn by text on there. I'm more like to read and like stop and focus on something and go back up and learn. And I like to be able to move around. I don't like to have to stop and pause videos and then I blank out on the video. I'm just sitting there looking and I'm not really retaining it. I like to be able to stop when I'm not retaining something on a page, a web page. I stop and I get stuck and I have to go back. Videos, it's like once you watch it, you don't really want to go back, or then you're like I don't know. I learned better from text-based learning or whatever. Yeah, this is NeetCode. So NeetCode, I haven't been on NeetCode in a while, but I guess he has courses on here now too, and he has a nice like roadmap looking thing, which is good. And he has this practice section. So NeetCode, he's been working on this thing. And pro version. So it's $199. Looks like it's like on sale or something. But I will say that Algo Monster is really good, but I think it is a little bit more expensive. I want to say, I don't know if I can go in here without showing my credit card information. Let me log out. Oh, they got a discount. Dang. Yeah, this thing is expensive, man. I actually recommend just paying the monthly and just using it for when you need it. Pay $30, $40 for 4 or 5 months rather than paying all this for the lifetime. I paid for the lifetime, but it was way cheaper. It was like $200 or something like that. It wasn't $900 on sale for $500. Like, that's too much. I wouldn't recommend that. Like, I wouldn't recommend paying that much for it. I would just pay monthly. Or even annually, like just pay for a year. But I'm glad I got grandfathered in, because yeah, this crap, that's crazy. But that must mean they're doing well, I guess. But yeah, it got good reviews. And I swear by it, man. I did a little bit of NeetCode, but I swear by Algo Monster, man, for sure. So, and I'm sorry I didn't take that dang Sudoku thing out the top of the screen down, so y'all could see that. Anyway, yeah, I think I'm gonna get off of here. Oh yeah, Cracking the Code interview. I think that's like a book. Yeah, that's like well known in the industry. Like if you like to read books, that's probably the way you want to go. But yeah, utilizing the code with the syntax, you're well rounded over to solve the question. So it's about developing, understanding over the problem, recognizing the patterns. Yes, you want to first have a command over the programming language. You want to pick a programming language that you have a strong command over the syntax. You do not want to be getting stuck on syntax in the interview. You want to learn the data structures that are out there. Algo Monster will teach you that. KG.codes will probably teach you that. YouTube will teach, everywhere will teach you that. Learn all the data structures. Learn the data structures, how to write the data structures in your programming language. Then learn the algorithms. Learn how to write those algorithms. And then start to do problems. And then once you do, then I would say go to KG.codes to get the most common problems. And then you'll start to see the patterns yourself. And then Algo Monster already tells you the patterns. But you'll start to be able to do pattern recognition. And then when you get in an interview and you see a new type of problem, they all fit to one of those patterns 9 out of 10 times. Because all these developers went through the same gauntlet. They all use these same tools. They all use LeetCode. So it's all the same problems. They just got different spins on them. But once you're able to read a problem description and match it to a data structure and algorithm, or a set of data structures and algorithms, then it becomes much easier, and it kind of brings the interview down. It brings this LeetCode thing down to about like 10 different patterns that you really need to know, and 10 different data structures that you really need to know. And that makes it a lot easier, because if you just trying to memorize 1,000 problems, it's just gonna be very hard for you. And that's what a lot of people do. They get, like, you see these people post on Blind, they're like, man, I did 400 LeetCode problems and I still can't pass the interview. And that's why, because they just blindly did problems, and then once they see a problem in the interview they don't recognize, they get stuck, and then there's always a high pressure. And so yeah, the video thing happens to me when I get in the zone watching tutorials. Yeah, so sometimes you can get focused, but I lose focus in videos. I can't watch videos for learning. So yeah, anyway, damn, you really unemployed. Hey, why am I unemployed, man? Who's unemployed? I'm good. At least for right now. What do you do on a typical work day? So yeah, on a typical work day, I'm not gonna share too much. I don't know how much I can really share, but I mean, typical work day, I wake up, meet with the team. They call it daily stand-up. We talk about what we did, what we're going to do, what we've been doing, what we're going to do right today, what we're going to, if we have any roadblocks. And then, get some coffee, stuff like that. Then, I might have some meetings through the day to talk about certain things, but mostly just doing software development work. So that's either researching or developing. So I'm either writing code, or I'm doing some research on, my strategy on how to build something or solve some sort of problem with the software that I'm building. And so nowadays, it's a lot of AI that we're using. Like, everybody's pretty much using AI. If you're not using AI to help you code, to augment, at least do that, then you're going to get left behind. Like, your peers are going to outperform you in the job if you're not using AI. So I'm using AI every day, not just for coding, but for, helping find information, writing documentation, help me research certain technical issues. Like, yeah, so that's my typical day, man. Getting on some meetings sometimes, talk through stuff, answering questions, technical questions. Like, yeah. Y'all have a Scrum Master? Nah, yeah. The Scrum Master is like the first role to go when the layoffs and stuff come. So I don't think, I haven't seen the Scrum Master in a very long time, at least in my circles. So I'm not gonna call it a useless role, but unfortunately, I definitely wouldn't call it a critical role in software development. It's a nice to have. So, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if I suggest being a Scrum Master, man. I mean, if you're gonna be a Scrum Master, definitely be a developer at the same time. If you want to be a developer / Scrum Master, where like if they start laying off or replacing with AI, that they won't just pick you first, because like, yeah, the Scrum Master gonna get dropped first in a lot of situations, because they're gonna be like, well, y'all just manage yourself. So a lot of times I've seen when we have a Scrum Master, it's been a developer that's kind of like moonlighting as a Scrum Master. Like they also do development too, and they just have one of their extra responsibilities is being a Scrum Master. But it's rare to see like somebody that's full-time job as a Scrum Master. Like I haven't seen that too much. Maybe at some of like the bigger companies, they have the room to do that, but a lot of times they just hire another developer. They just gonna be like, we're gonna use that money for another dev or a QA member or a DevOps person or whatever the case. Should I do cloud or web dev as far as pay, job demand, and security? I mean, if you want to be super safe, I would probably say cloud. I would probably say cloud. If you want to be super safe, web dev definitely got it. I'm not saying it don't have a future, but I do think a lot of people are starting to use AI more for that. I feel like cloud is a little bit more in demand because of AI. AI is very expensive to run right now. Like Chat GPT 4.5 was extremely expensive for them to run. They had problems with it, and that's why they put limits on it. And so I think the people that are doing like cloud stuff and figuring out how to, optimize the costs for cloud infrastructure, like DevOps people and cloud architects and stuff like that, I think they're going to be very valuable in the future. The people that's creating new solutions for companies that are trying to build out their AI tooling. And a lot of companies are going to be rewriting stuff for AI. Like a lot of companies got a lot of legacy code and legacy stuff that is not meshing with AI. A lot of companies are moving faster now because of AI. They're able to rewrite their services where they weren't able to before. They're able to migrate to the cloud where they weren't able before. So I just think there's just a lot of more room for a future there. But I don't want this to be like a thing where I'm like down in web dev, because I consider myself a web dev right now in my day job. But I just think if you got to choose between those two and you're liking cloud too, I would go with cloud for those factors that you provided. But web dev it's like neck and neck. Like web dev is like right here. So I'm not down in web dev. Making me pick one isn't down in the other. Learn to code raw, not chat GPT. I actually recommend that. I recommend that you use AI to teach you how to code raw. Like code from scratch. But you also still need to use ChatGPT. Like you need to be able to augment. Like all the workers now are using ChatGPT in their day to day. Now I feel like you do need to learn software development on your own and learn how code works on your own. I still think that's valuable. Some people are gonna say no. Like new coders are gonna come in from college. They're gonna have vibe coded their whole way through college. They're not gonna really care about knowing the code and all that stuff. We'll see who's right in the end. I still think that there still needs to be a human in the loop to review what AI is doing at certain intervals. That's my belief, but some people don't believe that, and that's fine. I feel like if ChatGPT is starting to limit the way you problem solve, if you're not learning anything anymore, you're not going in a good direction, man. So I get on these lives every week. People come on here, they say, ChatGPT and these AI is going to take over everything. It's going to kick you out of a job. Either you're not going to have a job, or either you're just not going to code anything. You're just going to hit a button and everything's going to work. And it's like, I see what you're saying. Maybe that is the future. But if we're not learning anything, if we're not becoming better problem solvers, then 10 years from now, we're not going to be able to handle the new problems 10 years from now if we're not growing as people. You know what I mean? And so I just think you should be always growing your skills in some sort of way. That's just my opinion. So take that for what you want to take it for. Is C# useful? Yes. There's still a major amount of companies that are writing applications in C#. C# is still useful. And there's a gaming framework called Unity. People are creating video games with C# still to this day. And now with AI, like you just go and you can get it to write the C# for you, and you can learn on your way as you're doing it. But C# is still useful. Don't let the internet is a different place from the real world. We all know that, and there's no difference with coding and tech industry. On the internet, it's like Python is the only thing that exists on the internet. Like Python, if you ain't using Python, you're crazy. Like you're insane by not. Like people telling me I'm crazy during this live for not using Python. That's not real life, man. Like there's like hundreds of companies, Fortune 500 companies that are not using Python. Is not everything. The browser don't even run. The browser runs JavaScript. You know what I mean? Like people not writing video games. And not all video games in Python. Like Facebook is not all written in Python. Facebook was originally written in PHP, and it's still a lot of it is still written in PHP. And so, you know, I mean, they starting to do a lot of Python, but I'm just saying, all these companies are not just writing Python. So the internet world where everybody's saying Python or bust, like that's not real life. There are still companies out there that are just using JavaScript. There's people's been in the chat saying Rust. People been in the chat saying Ruby. Just go look on LinkedIn and look at the jobs, and they'll tell you what languages they're using in the job descriptions. So I don't get how like people come on the chat and online and just act like everybody should be using Python, but then you go on LinkedIn and you just see literally in all these job descriptions that they're not using Python in all these jobs. So like that's what you need to look at. Look at the job descriptions. And I don't mean to get like ranty there, but I literally get that every time I get on here. It's like, stop using JavaScript. It's like, what are you crazy? Like JavaScript was the top used language for 10 years on GitHub. It was only this last year that Python passed it. But that means it's still number 2, you know, and it still was number 1 for the last 10 years. So it's like it's not get crazy with the Python thing. Just because we're on the internet and we got to go crazy. Like, come on, y'all. Like, I'm Salesforce, so Java is where it's at for me. Yeah, so like you got companies like Salesforce. I'm assuming, Dante, that they use Java a lot. You know, like this is the real life, man. There's a difference between people. And I'm not downing nobody, but like when you get on the job, it's like these jobs, look at these job descriptions. You're not always just, it's a difference in what these people are preaching on the internet versus what's really happening in these jobs. Some things are similar, some things are true, and some things are just, people just like Python. And so they're like making it seem like every company is using Python. That's so far from the truth, like extremely far from the truth. So yeah, that's what I want to say, because I think what happens on the internet, people just get tricked into feeling like they have to learn Python and Python only. Python is amazing, man. It really is, but like, let's not get crazy, man. Like TypeScript, like a lot of people love TypeScript. Like when you go to start going to some tech conferences and stuff, you know what I mean? Getting out there, get off the internet, man. You'll see what people's using. Get on LinkedIn, see what the job description's looking like. You'll see that people ain't just using a bunch of Python everywhere. Like, so yeah, and before Python, JavaScript was the most like loved language for sure. And now Python's kind of taking it because of the AI machine learning aspects of it. It's very human readable language, very clean, not a lot of boilerplate. It's a great language. So, but I'm not down in Python either. I'm just saying it's unrealistic. The internet perception of how big Python is unrealistic based on real job. Like real jobs have, like some company you go to, they got old code, man, before Python even existed that you have to work on. That's the reality. So, how long did it take for you to solve coding problems by yourself? It feels like like when you first start doing this, it feels like it'll take years to learn it, but it really don't, man. You'll really learn it in pretty quick. Like, you know, you'll get to the point where you can solve problems on your own pretty quick. Like within a few weeks, you'll be able to do easy lead code problems on your own. You know what I mean? Like it shouldn't take more than a few weeks if you're doing them like daily or like every other day, you're gonna get to the point. And like I said, if you learn the foundation, the fundamentals first, you're gonna be able to move a lot faster into doing your own problems on your own. So you just gotta get started, man. It's not insurmountable. I was scared to lead code at first. I was scared of coding challenges in the interviews. I hated it. I was like, I'm never gonna be able to do these. I'm never gonna be able to pass an interview. And I'm a testament to like being completely afraid of them. Actually, like down on them, like being the person that would be like, I'll never do an interview like that. I don't want to be at the company if they're trying to interview me like that. And flipping it on his head and embracing it and learning it. I still don't like the type of questions. Like, yeah, I still think companies shouldn't ask these type of questions. I still think that. But I've at least gotten to the point where, to get to the certain money levels, you got to be answering. You got to do that, man. There's just certain threshold that they put behind some of these leak code questions. And even if it's not leak code, it's certain level of interviews that you got to be able to get to certain bags, you know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, man. Share your LinkedIn profile. So go to my account. I think my full name is on there. And go to my account. My LinkedIn, I think, is probably in the bio somewhere. I'm not gonna put it in here, but yeah, you just go on there and find it. But I appreciate you asking for sure. AI is such a blessing. Yeah, man. AI changed my life so far. Like, even just using it for personal stuff. Like, after I get off of here, I'll probably go cook something, put on AI. You know what I mean? Like, ask it. I'll probably go play a game or something. I'll be asking it questions about the game. Like, I mean, it's definitely changed my life for the better. Coding is easier to find information. I wouldn't say it's that crazy much of a difference from before, though. That's the thing. Like, people like to come on here and say, like, AI is taking away coding. I don't code anymore. I can't code anymore. I don't write code anymore because the AI is doing it all. But we was copying code from Stack Overflow. We were copying code from Google. We were copying code from other places in the code base. We were doing a lot of copying of code all the time, and we were stitching code together. And I think they missed the stitching part of the code. But I mean, it's not much different than what we're doing now. Yeah, we're letting AI write a lot more of it, and we're doing a lot less stitching, like changing variable names and stuff like that. But you still can do that. You still can have AI write your initial kind of boilerplate, and you still can go in there and fix stuff. I do. Like, sometimes certain things I'm asking the AI to do, it can't get it right, or I can do it a little bit faster. I'm about speed and productivity. If I can go jump in there and fix something faster than I can type the AI prompt to do it. If it takes more time to prompt it and wait on it to do it, I just go in there and do it still. So I'm still writing little bits of code, but I don't think it's like a drastic amount difference than before. I think it's easier than before, and I think I'm still learning because I always review the code the AI writes. I never just let it just go without being reviewed. Like, I always review every line because it helps me learn. It helps me learn how to direct the AI better in the future. And it helps me see when the AI is hallucinating, because it will hallucinate. Like, that thing will go off the rails on you, man. I'm telling you. And if you don't catch it, it'll keep going. I had a bug just going in my system. It can't see the bug. I put the bug in there. It's just like, no, there's no bug. I'm saying, I'm giving you the bug. No, there's not a bug. And it just keep telling me it's not a bug. Like, I know y'all probably seen, it's like something going viral on TikTok now, where the dude's asking it to like count to 1 million. Like, a lot of people doing it, but they're asking like ChatGPT to count to 1 million, and it just like keeps going in this like circular reasoning of why it can't count to 1 million. It's like, yes, I can do that for you, but that's gonna take a long time. So let me know if you want me to do that for you. And then he's like, yeah, I want you to count to 1 million. And he's like, yeah, I can do that for you, but let me know if you're serious about it. And it's like, yeah, I'm serious. Like, count to 1 million. That's going to take a long time. But let me know if there's anything you need me to do. It's not going to do it. You know what I mean? And so, like, similar hallucinations can happen in the code where, like, it just builds upon truths that are not true. You know what I mean? Like, or false truths or whatever. And so, like, I still like to review my code. But anyway, I'm not going to keep talking because I'm probably going to lose my voice. Bro, you've been doing Valid Sudoku for hours. So did you leave and come back? I'm answering questions now, man. I'm done with it. It's do I need to like put this over here so people can see that like it's accepted or whatever? Like I'm done. Cause I still want people to be able to see the code. But anyway, yeah, appreciate it. You know, it's like just DM me or something, man, or send me a message. I'll send you the LinkedIn profile later, for sure, man. Yeah, Cal Soldier, appreciate that comment. That was funny. Yeah, I'm still on here, man. I'm about to get off now though, cause my voice, I can feel it. I'm starting to lose my voice, so I don't know. I don't get how like these streamers like Beast, I guess he's not a streamer at YouTube. I guess he streams sometime, but like Kai Sanad and Aiden Ross and all them folks that stream for like 12 hours. How do they stream? How do they talk for that long? Or do they take more breaks than I'm taking? Cause I'm about after like 2 hours, like my voice is like gone, man. But anyway, like I appreciate everybody that jumped on here asking questions. I know I didn't get to all the questions. It's a lot. I'm streaming across all the platforms. Please follow me, like connect with each other. Like I see a lot of y'all, especially on TikTok, y'all chat with each other a lot. So connect with each other, connect with me, follow me. DM me if you have questions that I didn't answer that you really want to answer, like anything about your tech career, about you know, something I did wrong, or something you want to argue about, or something you want to just ask about, advice. You know, I give free advice in the DMs. I don't do really mentoring, so all my advice comes through DMs. I do a lot of tech content on all these different platforms. I stream simultaneously across YouTube, Facebook. My Facebook stream died, but YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter and X or whatever. So you can follow me on any of those platforms. I post content about tech, AI, and coding, usually every other day. You know, funny stuff, informational stuff, news. So, you know, I'm trying to grow my platform, trying to grow and impact more people. I do these lives. I try to do them every Friday. I'm going to start maybe doing like a midweek stream on Wednesdays or Tuesdays maybe. But for now, I just stream every Friday, do coding challenge and answer some questions. So catch me here next Friday. I'm going to start trying to, I guess you can post something on the platforms to let people know when you're going to stream. I might start setting like a fixed time, but for right now, it's like just know I'm going to get on here at some point on Friday. If I'm free on that Friday. If I'm like not free on that Friday, I'll switch it to another day. But I'm going to try to be more consistent. But anyway, man, I really appreciate everybody that joined and helped me answer this LeetCode problem. You know, I got stuck a couple times after the problem was over trying to optimize it, but I appreciate the help. My guy, I can't remember, he probably left now, but I can't remember his name. But all these people that was on here, Tony, I think Tony Jason or something like that, Tony something, he was on here. Like all y'all people that was answering, Buenos on YouTube, Cal Soldier. I'm missing a bunch of names. All my friends that joined on Instagram and dropped off. It's like be nobody on Instagram. Like people come in there for like 1 second. I think they just be clicking on accident. But anyway, on like TikTok, there's a bunch of people. YouTube, there was a big group. TikTok, there was a nice group. So YouTube, I already said that one. So yeah, appreciate y'all, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate the questions, man. Give me something to do on here. And yeah, I'll see y'all in the next stream. I'm gonna end it right there. And I hope y'all have a good night, a good day, wherever you're at.